All right, everyone. I hope everyone is back. Let me know on the chat if you are back from the break. Drop in the word back if you are back to your screens. All right. And I hope you're all able to hear me well. And so good to be a part of the session today as well. PV had to drop off for an emergency, so I quickly took over. And we are now going to get started with yet another exciting session. Wonderful, wonderful. Are we all good to continue with the generative AI learning that we have been having? If yes, if yes, drop in a yes, and I'll quickly set context for what we are going to be learning over the next 2 hours because it's going to be super exciting. What we are going to be exploring is something that probably many of us have not been able to do until today. And what is that? A lot of us who are non techies, who do not know how to write a single line of code, all of us have always had to keep ourselves away from building products or building landing pages or building websites as well. We saw a glimpse of that yesterday when we tried to go ahead and build websites and landing pages. But today, we're going to try and teach you what it could take for you to go ahead and build products with AI, because these AI models can write code pretty fast, faster than all human beings as well. We're going to get into those nitty gritties in this particular session. And for this, we have Cameron joining us. Cameron has been vibe coding and automating a lot of processes lately, and he has also been teaching a lot of people how they could go ahead and vibe code and get into AI automations as well. This is a skill that is not only going to help you build internal software and products for yourself, but in case you have aspirations of getting into consulting or starting off your own AI agency, this skill is something that could be super helpful. So, Cameron, very warm welcome to the Mastermind once again, and super excited to have you here. I hope you are able to hear me.
Yep, loud and clear. Can everyone hear me okay?
Oh, yes, yes.
Awesome.
Folks, are you all able to see Cameron? Yes. The tech is fine, I hope.
Fantastic. I see lots of
Perfect.
enthusiasm in the chats today. This is exciting.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Paul says no camera, but there is a spotlight on Cameron and on myself as well. Wonderful. I think it's just an issue on your end. You might want to check that. But Cameron, I think we can get started with the session.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. All right, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are across the world. I'll give a little bit more of an intro just so everyone has some context as to what we're building, why we're building it today. So basically, I came from a traditional university background. I was a computer science student studying full time in university, and then the side I had a part-time job, which was delivering pizza for Domino's. And so as I was, full-time studies, I'd study in the morning, exams, classes, all that stuff, get home, deliver pizza. I started to hear whispers on the streets about ChatGPT 3.5. This is when AI was just first starting to become big, and I started to use it in my coding assignments. And I realized what used to take me, 20, 30 hours for a coding assignment, now it just took me a few. And so I kind of quickly realized that this is going to be amazing, right? When you have a technology that's the fastest growing technology ever that never gets worse, I mean, come on, we can see where that's going to go. So, what I did is I started to double down on an AI business. I started to build in the background. It started going really, really well. Started delivering for multi-million dollar companies, all the techniques, all the stuff I'm teaching you guys today. Was able to build my business pretty quick. And then what happened? It was my junior year of college. I went to my parents and I was like, "Hey, the business is going well. If by the end of the summer I hit a certain monetary goal, I want to go ahead and drop out." They agreed. I hit that goal. I dropped out, and the rest is history. From then, I've just been building my business, teaching loads online, as you heard in the introduction, and I'm excited to get into it now. So, how are we feeling so far about today? Just while I get my screen shared, are we loving today? Having a good time? Excited? The little party emoji. I just had some hearts go on my screen. It wasn't planned, I promise, but hey, I'll take it. Awesome. You guys are amazing. I can feel the energy today. So in just a moment, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and everyone should be able to see it. Just go ahead and confirm in the chat if you can see my screen. You'll see this lovely presentation that says vibe coding. Awesome. Fantastic. So as we can see, without further ado, let's get into it. All right. This is exciting, exciting stuff. Remember, This stuff was not possible 2 or 3 years ago. Now, all you need is just a little bit of knowledge, and you can basically launch six-figure applications pretty much overnight. All right, so let's get into it. Now, you can see here we're vibe coding, right? The messy reality of building with AI. Now, where does the term vibe coding come from? What does it mean? All right. Well, essentially, vibe coding was a term coined by Andrej Karpathy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. As you see throughout today, I'm not the best with pronunciation, so please excuse me. I'll try my best. But essentially, he worked for Tesla and he made this tweet. And basically, vibe coding is the process of iteratively building, applications or code bases or whatever it is without writing a single line of code yourself. That's because AI writes it for you. Now, the the iterative word in that definition of vibe coding is very, very important because, again, the messy reality of building with AI, you can see I put that tagline here, and because it's not always pretty. All right, it's not always rainbows and sunshines. Like if you compare where we were 10 years ago, where we are now, it's like, whoa. Like I can only imagine if someone like Albert Einstein saw where this technology is going today. However, right, we're going to run into some errors. We're going to have to, there's some messy processes. We're going to have to go through and iterate and improve and build the systems ourselves. It's not just a one-click magic bullet solution yet, right? If you have a technology like AI that's never going to get worse, eventually it will get there. But for now, it's more of an iterative process. So I just wanted to set some expectations so we're all ready today. You can see vibe coding, it's amazing. We have some guys coding with coffee. This little kid's sipping some coffee, coding, one hands. I got a cup of tea here today. Stay hydrated, tea, coffee, whatever is your forte. Feel free to stay tuned. Just again, so everyone knows before we start, after the session, you're going to get all the resources you need, all the prompts that we use, all the tools. In this presentation, I'm going to pull out a whiteboard. You'll get all the notes, so no need to fear. You can just feel confident and paying attention here. You'll be able to see everything after the session. You'll get all the resources. All right. Now, what are we building today? Today, we are building a project management tool. Now, from my understanding, right, everyone here kind of fits into one of three buckets. Number one, you are an AI entrepreneur. You're trying to launch your business with AI or make money with AI, kind of like I'm doing. Or you are in the professional space. You're trying to land a career or you are in a career and you just want to upskill yourself with AI. Or maybe you're a hustler where you're in a career, you're in a job or a 9 to 5 or whatever it is, and you want to use AI to kind of move into the entrepreneurial space. But in either category, project management tools are big. Okay, these are softwares, these are applications. If you've ever heard the term CRM, you can think of it almost like that, right? Customer relationship management, or basically it's a software to keep things organized where we can add tasks, keep them, categorized for the day, what we need to get done, when we need to get it done, who needs to get it done. So for that reason, everyone kind of can use these tools nowadays. They're super popular. And so it's a really, really good application no matter what bucket you're in. So we're going to go ahead and put that together today. All right. We're going to go from zero to deploy in around 60 minutes. It's going to be an exciting process. All right. The fact that you would typically have to go to school for probably 7+ years just to be able to build a short MVP demo application. Now you can literally do it in just a few hours. It's actually insane. So we'll talk more about that. But before we get into it, all right, I want to break down a very important analogy because when we build a house, when we build a skyscraper, we don't want to build it on sand. All right. As soon as the tide comes in, the house is going to fall down. All right. We want to build it on solid concrete. We want to build it on a solid foundation. And so whenever you're vibe coding, remember, vibe coding is the process of building websites or applications without writing a single line of your code yourself because AI is writing it for you. So whenever you're vibe coding, you want to make sure you understand the basics or you understand generally what a front end is, what a back end is, database, all that stuff. Because most people nowadays will basically say, hey, vibe coding will only get you so far. You need to be a full-fledged application development specialist, whatever it is, to be able to make it into something that can sell and make money. And that's incorrect, all right? Because if you just understand even 10% of what I'm showing you today, you're going to be ahead of 95% of the people that don't understand this bit. So to understand as humans, right, to understand complex ideas, we like to kind of abstract them into everyday experiences we've had because it makes it much more easy to comprehend in our minds. So what I want to do again is use this restaurant analogy. First up, All right. Think of each of these pieces of the restaurant as each of the pieces of our application or our product. All right. First, we have the front end. That's like the dining area in a restaurant. And we have the back end, which is like the kitchen, the database, which is like the pantry where all the ingredients are at, and the authentication, which is like the reservation desk. And before I just move on, I want to break this down even more in more of a visual way. So what I'm going to do is just launch the whiteboard so we can go ahead and talk about this. All right. Let me just go ahead and find Vibe Coding 101. All right, looks like I had a little old scrap piece just a second ago on the bottom of the whiteboard, but we'll get into that. All right, Vibe Coding 101. You can see a rocket ship, sunglasses because it's absolutely a vibe. We're here typing with one hand, sipping tea, coffee, water, whatever it is, and building full-fledged applications, which again, in the past, you would have had to at least go to school for 4 to 7 years and then spend 20 to 30 days just getting out a prototype. So it's really, really impressive stuff. And I'm just going to take a quick sip of tea to make sure we're fueled for the session, and then we'll get into the whiteboard stuff. All right, Sarah asked a very good question in the chat. She said, "Does this session require background experience?" No, it does not. Actually, like again, I come from a coding background. I have a big AI business now where I build very big solutions for big companies, yada yada yada. Me and my full team, we have technical backgrounds, and guess what? We don't use any of it. All right, the only thing you need is the willingness to try hard. And I'll talk more about that later. I don't want to stall. And, I like to go on rants sometimes. All right, I'll reel it in. I'll go on my rants later on. I want to make sure we get into it. So, first things first, we have what is called the front end. So, let me just go ahead and draw this out and give it a nice color. Just going to label it. All right, front end. Now, remember, this is the dining experience. All right, this is what the customer interacts with. So imagine I am a customer, I get into a restaurant, I sit down, this is where I give my order, I eat my meal, I have the ambiance, maybe it's a nice restaurant with some jazz music in the background. This is what I see, this is what me as a customer interacts with. All right, that is the front ends. Now also, we have what is called the back ends. This we can think of as the kitchen. All right. This is where the magic happens, as I like to say. All right. This is where, and I'll just zoom in so everyone can see. This is where the food is prepared. Type it out quickly. This is where the magic happens. I'll use Whisper Flow, a nice little tool to be able to speak that. All right. This is where the magic happens, right? This is where the chefs are in the back, they're preparing the food to actually bring to the dining experience for the customers to sit, enjoy, and eat. All right. How does that sound? Does that make sense so far? Now, let me just ask everyone a question. All right. I am a customer. I'm in the front end. How does my order get from the front ends or the dining experience to the kitchen, to the back end for the chefs to make? All right. How does it get there? Bibiana said it. Melissa said it. You guys are awesome. Amith said it. Eugenio said it, right? The waiter. Now, what can we think of the waiter in our kind of application analogy, in our product analogy with the restaurant? Does anyone know? Abhinesh said it perfectly. All right, Abhinesh said it perfectly. It is the API, all right, which stands for Application Programming Interface. A lot of people get overwhelmed by this, but you actually don't have to. It's very simple. Just think of this as a way for two different parts of an app or anything on the internet to communicate via the internet. So, like any way to give information or receive information, think of this as like the waiter, all right? It's taking our order, me as the customer in the front end. I sit in the nice dining restaurant. Maybe it's a nice fine dining steak restaurant. All right, I love steak. I give my order, nice ribeye steak, medium rare. All right, they take that order. The waiter brings it to the kitchen. All right, vice versa. How does it get back from the kitchen into how does the food, right? So the kitchen, the chefs, they get my order, they're cooking it up. All right, they're searing it nice with butter, rosemary, thyme, all that stuff. And then when it's done, they bring it from the kitchen to back to me in the front end. How does that happen? All right, same thing. All right, I'm gonna say it again, same in reverse response. So let me just go ahead and draw it back. So whenever we see these little black arrows, Think of these as like waiters or like little staff that's bringing and giving information back and forth between different pieces of our application. All right. Now, we're going to go more in depth on this whole, analogy. All right. So I'm just going to do one more bit and then we'll get into some fun stuff. And as we go throughout this session, I'm going to be doing more stuff on this whiteboard. All right. Now, next piece we have. All right. Does anyone remember? This is what we have as the database. Very, very important. The database. And what did we call the database in our analogy? It's the pantry. Perfect. Syed got it. Syed, again, not good with pronunciations, excuse me. This is where the ingredients are stored. All right, so I go in, I'm a customer, I get into the front end dining experience. I sit down, I like the jazz music, I like the ambiance. Waiter comes to get my order. I give it nice steak, medium rare. They bring it to the kitchen, all right, via the API, right, which is the waiter. Chef cooks it up, but before the chef can cook it up, how does he actually get the steak? Right, he needs the information to be able to pull and then, cook the steak. Well, he gets it from the database. So the chef has to go in the database or the pantry to get the ingredients, to get the steak, to get the thyme, the rosemary, the butter, the garlic, however you like your steak cooked, or if you like spaghetti or whatever it is. All right, gets it from the pantry, brings it back into the kitchen so that he can cook it up accordingly. All right, so this is how we can think about the pieces of the puzzle, the pieces of the application or the product. Does this make sense so far before I move on? Good. Love it. Love the analogy. Is it all clicking? All right. Arlene says yes. Jasmine says yes. Hamza says yes. Awesome. Sunny, Dheeraj, Kimberly, thumbs up. Awesome. Alexander, fantastic. You guys are great. I love the energy and enthusiasm today. I can tell that you guys are going to be an amazing cohort for 100%. All right. So this is what we're going to start with. Now, what we're going to do next is just jump into Claude. All right. Because actually, before we even get into Claude, I want to break down one more thing on my whiteboard. Remember what we're building today. All right. We're building an application, we're building a product. So there's two ways to ideate, I think that's a word, an application. All right. Two ways. Number one. So remember, we want to build an app. Let's just say this box is our application. We don't really know what to build yet. Because nowadays, I hope everyone knows, building the app, building the product is no longer the hard part. All right, that's the easy part because AI just does it for us. It's never been quicker. But, all right, coming up with the idea for the product or for the application, understanding what people want, because if we're going to build this thing, we want people to use it and pay for it, or we want them to pay for it, or at the very least, find it useful, right? So we want to build an application that's useful. So we have to, before we even build it, know what people want and know what they need. All right. So what does that mean? We have to know the demand. We have to verify the demand, right? Do people want or need our product or application that we're going to be building? So there's two ways to figure out what we actually want to build to see if there's demand for it. Number one, all right, this is an easy one. We can take an existing application and make it better, make it our own, for example. All right. Now, let me just go ahead and shrink this up. This means we can go on the internet, we can look at other existing applications out there. There's tons of them made. Again, remember today we're building a project management tool. There's tons of project management tools out there. And the best part is we can look at those tools, we can see what are their features, and we can make ours better. We can make ours unique because we don't have to go and guess whether or not people want this thing. Of course they do. That's why there's tons of big successful apps out there. But it's a lot of times those apps fall short in areas, so we can look at that and then build our own application, our own version, and build it better. So that's number one. It's a bit easier because of the fact that we already know what type of features we should probably include. We already know that people want it, that they need it. Remember, what's the point of building an application if people don't even want it, if they're not even going to use it, if they're not even going to pay us money for it? All right. So what do we want to do? We want to build something we know people want. That is how we use the first method. Number two, all right, this is what I like to call the, again, I'm putting number two here. This is what I like to call the unicorn. All right. Many of you have heard Sam Altman say that AI is going to create the first one-person billionaire. All right. This is probably going to be with method number two. I'm not saying it has to be, but basically, this is building something that's brand new. All right. Building something that no one has ever built before. All right. You can absolutely do this. However, it's a bit more tricky. Why? Because we basically have to guess, what do people need? What kind of problem are we solving? We have to do a lot more of that hard work of doing research into the market, talking to people, see what they struggle with. All right. Then we have to build a whole application. Maybe we build the whole thing and realize that no one wanted it in the first place, which is the tough part. But again, it can be successful and it can have bigger payoffs. All right. The thing that we're trying to find when we're building an application is there demand for this application? I know sometimes I sound like a parrot. I repeat things over and over, but that's just because I really want everyone to understand. I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but it's just helpful to kind of go over it multiple times. I hope everyone's okay with that. But again, there's no point in building an application that no one wants, no one needs, or no one's going to pay money for. So we have to go one of these two routes. We're always trying to find demand. All right, perfect. So we're going with route number one today. We've already identified we're building a project management app. Why? Because it's a very good basic application that we can build that's useful, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a hustler, or whether you're in a professional career. All right. It's very easy to understand the basics and the fundamentals of vibe coding. And then you can take that knowledge and then go and build whatever application you want. Remember, the goal of today is not to actually, learn how to build a project management tool. Sure, that's what we're going to do. But the goal is to understand the structures and the frameworks and the concepts of how to build a successful application. It doesn't matter if it's project management, doesn't matter if it's an AI calorie tracker, doesn't matter if it's XYZ, whatever you want to build. All right. The important part is learning how we prompt, learning how we build the application, how we deploy it on the internet, all that stuff. That's the important part. All right. We're teaching the frameworks and the structures and the concepts, just so that makes sense. All right. Now, what we're going to do is jump into Claude. All right. Claude is my go-to LLM for basically helping us to write prompts and come up with ideas and problem solve. For that reason, I use Claude, but really you can use any LLM you want. All right. I know ChatGPT is a little bit more accessible for everyone. So you can use ChatGPT if you want to. But essentially, all I'm going to do is give a super simple prompt in here. All right. I'm going to write, I am a non-technical builder trying to build a project management software via vibe coding. I've done research on my competitors who have built project management apps that already exist, and I have taken screenshots of the set of features. Can you analyze all these screenshots and give me the complete set of features that I need to build for my software? All right. Basically, I'm giving it a prompt and I'm saying, who am I? I'm non-technical. I don't know about tech. I don't know about any of this geek speak, so to say. All right. And I want to build a project management software with vibe coding. All right. And then we tell it we've done research of competitors. Remember, this is what we're doing here. Okay. We're going with number one. We're looking at competitors, project management apps that already exist out there. Then we're taking that inspiration and we're giving it screenshots of the features. Remember, all right, I know I keep saying remember, but the hardest part of building an app is knowing what to build and what type of features. So we're going to use Claude. We're going to use our little AI genius best friend. All right, we're going to use AI as our professional consultant to help us identify what the most important features for us to build are. All right, so let's go ahead and get some screenshots of competitors. We have to go and find some competitors now and screenshot their features so that we can give it to Claude and basically have it pick the most important features that we should have. All right, in the chat, does anyone know some popular project management tools that could be competitors to us that we want to go and research? Okay, Burjesh said something perfect. All right, Monday.com. Let's go look up Monday.com. Perfect. All right, and then a very cool hack. And an easy way to find all the features listed out is if we go on the pricing page. All right, this is the pricing page. We just click this button to go to the pricing page. And the reason this is awesome because, when you're trying to sell something, they do what's called value stacking, where, they're going to compare all the plans and then stack up all the different features. They're going to stack all the value so you can make an informed, educated decision to go ahead and buy whatever plan you want. But that makes it easy for us because they list all the features in every plan right here. So I'm just going to get a screenshot of this, drag it into Claude, and you can see if I just open this up, this is what the screenshot looks like so everyone can see. All right. Now, let me look at what else in the chat. What are other good ones? All right. We have, let's just see, Trello. Christian said Trello. It's another really good one. Trello.com. Let's go ahead to Trello. All right. Then again, we can go to pricing. We can scroll down. We can screenshot all the features, bring it back into Claude, and then drag it in. All right. Now, another one. Osama said it. A lot of you like this one. This one's popular for you guys to say. All right. Jedediah said it. Asana. Let's go check out asana.com. All right. Let's head to pricing. Scroll down. Screenshot all the features. Bring it into Claude. All right. And now we have everything we need. All right. Everyone sees I enabled this little thing in the browser. This is extended thinking in Claude. What does this mean? It's turning, oops, looks like we had a little bit of an issue. Claude just gave me a little bit of a hiccup. Let's do that again. All right, I got my prompt. Just going to copy and paste it in. All right, it's working. Looks like it's working. So I'm going to do a new chat again where we can put our screenshots. I was just making sure it's working. All right, paste that in. Again, we're going to screenshot all of the pricing really quick. I'll do it pretty fast. Just a moment. Technical difficulties. We have technical difficulties. It happens. All right, sometimes we're spilling so much sauce on the meeting that tools start to break. All right. Let's go into Trello. All right, next up is Trello. That was the other one that we did. You're going to screenshot that. Boom, bring it back into Claude. And then the last one is Monday.com. Head back to Monday, go into pricing. Just give it a second to load. Here's the pricing page. We're going to screenshot that, bring it back into Claude. Again, drag it in. We should be able to send it in now. Should be good. All right, boom, it's working. It's happening. All right, we had to navigate around that. All right, awesome. You guys are funny. All right, so we could see what I was saying is we turned it into a thinking or a reasoning model. Now, what that means is basically this wasn't available like a year ago. All right, this turns the standard LLM, which used to just kind of like predict what words to say, into a reasoning model, a thinking model that goes ahead and plans out its thought process and what to think about and what to do and execute before it actually does it. So we can even look at the thought process here. All right, it's saying we've uploaded 3 screenshots. It's dissecting the images, and we can look at its thought process, which is like amazing. It's super cool. All right, the models are getting smarter and smarter. It's actually incredible. All right. Now, what we can do is just go ahead and look at the core project management features that we should have. All right, tasks and card management, create, assign, and track tasks. That's awesome. Maybe we could set up some Kanban style boards, some projects and workspaces, multiple views, collaboration features. All right, task features. So we're getting a huge list. All right, but I want to break down something to everyone that's very important. Let me just do a quick temperature check. Is everyone following along so far? All right, throughout these sessions, I'm going to do lots of mini recaps. I just want to make sure we're all good. All right, lots of yeses, lots of thumbs up. You guys are awesome. All right, so again, we took screenshots of our competitors' pricing, put it into Claude, and said, hey, what are the features that we should have in our own project management software? All right, and it gave us this big list, which brings me to a very important principle, and this is called the Pareto principle. Pretty sure it's spelled that way. I don't know if anyone's heard of this before. Basically, what this means is that 80, oops, where are we? 80% of the users, yep, you guys are putting it in the chat. 80% of the users use 20% of the features. All right, what does that mean? That means when we build a product, when we build an application, the majority of people that are going to use our product or application are only coming for just a few of the features. All right, 80% of the people are only coming for 20% of the features. What does that mean? That means the first, what we call core features, are the most important. And we should identify what those are pretty quickly because that's what most people are actually going to come to our product or application to use. All right, so another way to illustrate this is called the 1+2 principle. All right, so we have 3 boxes. And these are each of the features that we should have. All right, we have one core feature, which for us is probably going to be like adding tasks and managing tasks. All right, and then two other core features, all right, that are probably a tiny bit smaller. All right, that is the 1+2 principle. So we want to make sure we're picking three core features to start with. All right, I hope that makes sense. So, what do we have to do? Right? Claude just took a look at our screenshots, all right, and it outputted this huge list of all these features that we should do, and it's a lot. All right, we don't want to do that. I know it's easy, right? We get excited. We have this ability now with AI to build these full-fledged applications, and we want to go and add this fancy feature, this thing, this thing, this thing. But let's return back to my little building the house foundation. All right, remember, we want to build on concrete, not on sand. We want to make sure it's a solid concrete foundation, right? We want to make sure if we're building a house, we got the beams in place, we got the floors and the walls. All right, before we go and add a jacuzzi on the roof and a water slide that goes around the house and a fancy kitchen. All right, we can't build any of that if we don't have a structurally sound house. For that reason, we need to pick the first couple features that are strong, that are going to make it very compelling for people to want to use our application. All right. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and give another simple prompt. Since I'm a non-technical builder trying to build my first application, I want a table of features in descending order of priority. I want two core features, which are essential for any project management software, and one differentiator feature where I use the power of AI to simplify something very easily. Can you give me these neat in a table? All right, looks like it's just taking a second. There we go. Can you give me these neat in a table? Is that correct, grammar? Can you give me these in a neat table? It's probably better. All right. Now, we're just going to send this through. Remember, Claude just gave us this huge list of features that we should include. And what are we telling it? We're telling it to narrow it down. All right, let's do the 1+2 principle, the Pareto principle. All right, let's identify core three features, all right, two core features, and then one feature that we can use AI to make it different inside of our actual application. All right, core number one, task creation and management. That's a great one. We can create, edit, delete tasks, assign tasks to users, set due dates, mark as complete and incomplete, which is awesome. All right. Then for the second core feature, it's saying we should do a board view, which is Kanban. Okay, that's interesting. All right. AI differentiator, natural language task breakdown. This one I like. All right, this is very, very cool. What we can do is basically say launch new website by March, and then AI will automatically break this down into subtasks with smart deadlines, and then basically say like, okay, we need to launch a new website by March. Plan out the words, the copy of the website. All right, get the image assets, figure out the pages. All right, it's going to break it down into subtasks automatically for us. So this sounds pretty good. All right, it's giving us a bunch of these features to put it in a table. All right, let's narrow it down even further. All right, a lot of you are asking what Kanban is. We'll cover that after. All right. I'm just going to give another simple prompt to even narrow it down even further. Okay. Based on the feature table mentioned, I want to start only the core feature of task management and the AI feature of AI task breakdown. Can you write me a simple PRD that I can use in any vibe coding tool? All right. I think I forgot to say with. I want to start with only, all right? And now, I can already predict it. A ton of you are going to be asking, what's a PRD? Or does anyone know what a PRD is? Let me see in the chat. Awesome. You guys are getting it. All right. Srikar got it. Awesome. All right. So it stands for Product Requirements Document. All right. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. Just a small recap. All right. Again, we went over the restaurant analogy, front end, the dining air experience, the kitchen, which is the back end, all right, the database, which is the pantry where the ingredients are stored, and this one's going to come later. All right. Then what we did, we stole like an artist, which I like to call swagger jacking. All right. We know basically how did humans get to this point? All right. Because all over history, we learn from people in the past, we learn from other humans. So we're developing, we're constantly developing. All right. So we're basically what I call swagger jacking, where we're taking inspiration, we're doing competitive research on other project management tools. We're taking stuff we like and making better stuff we don't like. All right, so we took a screenshot of the competitors, fed this to Claude, and we picked our MVPs, which is what we just did. Which brings me to the PRD journey. All right. What does PRD stand for? It stands for Product Requirements Document or Project Requirements Document. And what this is essentially a document that outlines for AI very, very clearly what's being built, the technical specifications, how it should be built, etc. Does that make sense to everyone? That is what a product requirements document is. All right. Awesome. You guys are great. So, all right, what is the PRD journey? I'm going to give everyone another analogy. All right, let's just say I were to go to a Chinese restaurant, but I don't speak Mandarin. All right. But the people at the Chinese restaurant, they only speak Mandarin. If I go to that restaurant and I try to order, my favorite Chinese food, maybe it's General Gao's chicken and beef teriyaki and chicken lo mein or whatever it is, right? Let's just say I go to the Chinese restaurant. I don't speak Mandarin. Maybe they speak a little bit of English and I give them my order. Then what happens? All right, I return to the restaurant and it looks like the order is incorrect. All right, maybe they got some things right, but some things, mostly it's wrong. All right. Why is that? Well, because I don't speak their language. All right. It's a Chinese restaurant. They speak Mandarin. I should be able to speak Mandarin. I should go and speak Mandarin so that they can get my order correctly. In that same situation, if I go back to that restaurant and I speak perfect Mandarin, I give my order, General Gao's chicken, beef teriyaki, chicken lo mein, all the little sauces that I like, and then I go back to get it, boom, my order's perfect. Why? Because they understood me perfectly. All right. It's the same thing with AI. All right, you guys know, you've been through these master classes, you've been through these masterminds over this weekend. You know very, very well AI likes to be spoken to in a very specific way. Now, what do we call the way in which we communicate with AI? What do we call the way in which we talk to AI, speak to AI? All right, Hassan got it. Wow, the chat's moving fast. Chris got it. Syed got it. Most of you are getting it. All right. Prompting. Prompting is the language in which we speak to AI. And basically, what AI likes, right, for it to understand our food order very correctly, to understand our instructions, it likes to have clear, detailed, and specific instructions. It likes lots of detailed, it likes structured questions and information. It likes things very neat and organized, almost like a college essay. All right. That is how AI can understand our instructions perfectly and then go ahead and execute on it correctly. So when we go back to AI, guess what? It got our order correct. So that brings me full circle to the PRD journey. Most people make the mistake. All right, again, today we're going to use a vibe coding tool. This is a tool in which we can just type in English language to AI. It's going to go ahead and build full-fledged applications and whatever we want, websites, whatever it is. All right. However, most people just go in and just type something random. And then they get like 5 or 10 prompts in, and then it doesn't work, it breaks, whatever. Why? Because they weren't detailed. They weren't prompting the right way with AI. When you're using a vibe coding tool, it likes structured, detailed information. If you're building an app, it should know to start out with a very solid foundation. Remember, concrete foundation. It needs a PRD. Right? It needs a product requirement document. All right. So stage one of the PRD journey, raw request. This is where the newbies live. All right. We don't want to be a newbie. All right. Simple. Build me a project management app. All right, that's so vague. It could take our what we have envisioned in our mind completely wrong. All right, so what is stage two? We get a basic PRD. All right, we get a basic PRD. Mayor, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. I hope I am. Mayor said, "What prompting technique do we need to use for vibe coding?" I'm showing you exactly right now. All right, we have the basic PRD. This is a project requirements document, product requirements document, either one. And this contains details on the features, the specifications, very detailed document for our vibe coding tool for AI. All right, I hope that makes sense. So if I go back into Claude, all right, you can see it's given us the product requirements document, the PRD. Okay, it's giving us even a product name, AI Task Manager. Sounds pretty cool. All right, it's giving us the target user, the core value proposition. It's giving us the features and the scope. All right, basic task management, AI task breakdown. All right, out of scope, Kanban boards, multiple users and collaboration, calendar views, notifications. All right, it's giving us a lot of stuff. All right, now it's saying out of scope. It's saying the user stories. All right, it's giving us functional requirements, giving us actions, AI task breakdown, the process, the output. It's giving us even UI and UX requirements. It's giving us a lot. It's even giving us a data model. All right. And the point is not to read through all of this. We could do some due diligence, but what we actually want to do is stage three. All right. Now, what is stage three? Well, stage three is what we call platform optimized. All right. Platform optimized. Can everyone see me? Can everyone hear me correctly? Just want to make sure in the chat. Thumbs up. We're doing good. Loving the session. Excited. Party emoji. Awesome. Perfect. All right. And don't worry. If anyone's like, whoa, this is a lot, that's perfectly normal. I would be surprised if anyone grasped 100% of this on the first try. All right. And I'm going to do lots of little recaps throughout. So don't worry. And by the way, just I feel myself, I'm going to go on one of those little rants that I like to go on, but here it is. All right. Learning should be uncomfortable. All right. I know maybe you haven't heard that before, but learning should be uncomfortable. All right. It's a process. All right. What is learning at the end of the day? Learning is a change in behavior. All right. So if you were to go through this whole weekend and you weren't to get your hands on any of the tools, you weren't to try them out for yourself, then it would have all been entertainment for you. All right. Learning comes from a change in behavior. All right. We give you the map. Let's just say you were climbing a mountain. All right, we can give you a map, but no matter how detailed the map is, you're still going to go climb that mountain, and there's going to be stuff that we couldn't account for. Maybe there's a tree that fell down on the path, and you have to find a way around. Maybe there was a river that had a bridge to cross, but now the bridge fell. You have to find a way to get through the river. All right, so we can give you the map. That's the 80%. All right, but then the rest of it, the full learning and experience comes from actually doing. All right. So remember, if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel a little bit overwhelmed, like this is a ton of information, that's completely normal. All right. Everyone learns at different paces. That's why after the session, you're going to get all the resources, the prompts, this presentation, the whiteboard, everything. So you can go ahead and learn at your own pace because I know everyone learns at different speeds. All right. I know for me specifically, I'm like very, very slow to start learning. And then once I grasp something, like I'm quick. All right. Some people are fast to start. Some people, maybe are fast and they're slower after they start. Like everyone learns at different speeds. So this is why, we're doing it this way. I hope that makes sense. I'm sorry. There's a little rant. I can't promise that's the only rant I go on in the session. All right. So anyway, what we have now in the PRD journey, remember, we started with a raw request. All right, build me a project management app. That's where the noobs live. We don't want to be there. All right, so what do? We turn this into stage two, which is the basic PRD. All right, we got a product requirements document so that it's more clear and structured and specific for AI, what it needs to build for us. All right, stage three, platform optimized. All right, what does this mean? Every single AI tool likes to be spoken to in different ways. All right, let's just go to my Chinese restaurant analogy. All right, let's just say it's not just Mandarin, but it's a specific dialect of that language. All right, remember, for it to be most accurate, we want to speak in the exact dialect that the people of the food store are, or AI. We want to speak in the right dialect for AI. And so to do that, what do? We need a platform optimized PRD. All right, so what we can do is go to bolt.new and look at the best practices. All right, I'm going to go through this again. I know it can seem like I'm jumping around a little bit. I'm going to do it again, but this is bolt.new. All right, this is the platform in which we can vibe code. All right, we can just type in whatever we want. It's going to build our app. It's going to write the code and everything. Now, all these tools nowadays are very good at giving us documentation. And I'm going to look up bolt.new best practices for prompting. All right. It's because what we can do is basically go in this tab. All right, bolt.new best practices for how to prompt. Literally, this is a guide for how we can speak the right dialect for bolt.new. All right, so what we can do, I'm just going to copy all of this. I'm going to go all the way down. I'm going to copy all of this, bring it into Claude, paste it. I already pasted it as a little file. And then I'm just going to give a very simple prompt. I have just given the prompting principles of bolt.new, which gives guidelines for making the prompts. Follow these guidelines and rewrite my PRD into a prompt that I can use in Bolt. So what am I doing? All right, I got this super long PRD from Claude, but I want to convert this into the right dialect for Bolt.new. So I went onto Bolt.new's their own documents. It's like their own kind of like a language dictionary for how to speak their language. I copied all of it, pasted it into Claude, and then basically just say, hey, take that PRD that you just wrote for me, take it back, and then convert it into a prompt for Bolt.new. All right, boom. We're just gonna send this through. All right. So to go over it again, oops, presentation, stage one, raw request. That's the noob land. That's noob territory. We want to get more detailed. All right. We want, remember, AI likes very structured and detailed prompts. So we give it a PRD. All right. A basic PRD, which outlines what are the functional specifications, the tech stuff, how should it look, what are the colors, what is the name, all that kind of stuff. All right. And then we bring this to be the most successful. Remember, when people are building apps, this is what most people don't do. All right. To be successful, we're going to go to stage three, which is platform optimized. This is us speaking the same exact dialect to AI. And how do we get that? We go to bolt.new. They have their own document, their own dictionary for their language. We copy that dictionary, bring it into Claude, and then have Claude outline a new prompt for us. Stay hydrated. All right. And to make this even more clear, back to the restaurant analogy. Let's just say I go to the restaurant, they speak Mandarin, but I don't speak Mandarin. However, I have a best friend who speaks perfect Mandarin, perfect English. He's like my translator. All right. In this scenario, Claude is like our translator. All right. Claude is the translator that's be able to take our order, translate it into Mandarin, give it to Bolt, give it to the Chinese restaurant. All right. Everyone's asking where I got the Bolt principles from. All I did in Google, I looked up bolt.new best practices for prompting. All right. And it's right here, right at the top. All right. And again, the resources after the session, you guys are going to get all of that. So don't worry. All right. I'll give you the links and everything. Sarah said, hydrate or die, they say when he was in the army. I mean, she, I think. Awesome. That's funny. Hope I didn't botch that. All right. So, bolt.new prompt for AI task manager MVP. Okay. Initial project prompt. So, here it's giving us a prompt that we can now bring back to bolt.new. All right. Create a simple task management app with AI powered task breakdown feature using React, Tailwind, CSS, and Supabase. All right. It's even giving us, what we need for the coding languages and all that stuff. All right. React with Vite for the front end, Tailwind CSS for styling, Supabase for database authentication. All right, so what it's doing, it's telling us to use database already, and I don't want to do that. So in the next prompt, I'm just going to tell it, hey, we're going to create the database later. Save that for a second prompt. All right. So I'm just going to say remove the database stuff for now from the initial prompts. Just because I want to show you guys how we can actually use the database in Bolt. So we'll get there later. All right. Remember, we're using Claude as our genius. What better than to know how to speak to AI than having AI tell us how to speak to AI? All right. So it's like our translator friend. But anyway, it's giving us this prompt, the AI task breakdown, the layout, what should it look like? What should the name be? The tabs, the data structure, the styling, everything. All right. So basically, it gave me the prompt. I just said to remove the database for now from the initial prompts. Not a big deal. Remember, I'm going to do a bunch of little recaps. If it feels like this is fast or if it's moving quickly, no need to fear. It's completely normal. Again, I'll go through everything again. And also, we're giving you the resources so you can go through at your own speed, at your own pace as well. All right. I want to make sure we get through as much as possible. I think it's better to give you guys more information you can reverse engineer rather than leave you, looking for more. So let's finish the prompt for us. All right, let's finish the prompt. So we have the initial project prompt. So we could break this down even further. We could have it, bring it into a smaller prompt, but I'm just going to take this. I think it's going to do a pretty good job. All right. So what I'm going to do, bring this into bolts. I'm going to go ahead and paste it in. All right, this is where we can build something. You can see we're in the bolt.new interface and say, what will you build today? All right. We can put in whatever we want. We just gave in our PRD prompt for bolts. All right, here we can choose an AI model. You can use Opus or Sonnet, doesn't matter. All right, I'm going to choose Opus because it's a little bit smarter. All right, it's a little bit more expensive, but it's smarter, which I think is better for demonstration. But you could also use Sonnet. It's very, very intelligent. It's Claude's model. Okay, you can see the stats for each model here. It balances speed and intelligence and token usage, which is like the expense. All right, so what I'm going to do, I paste it in the prompt. Now I'm just going to hit build now. Immediately I built it. And you guys, I mean, every time I see this, I'm kind of like mind blown. All right, it's going to take a few minutes. So while in between we're waiting for Bolt to do its thing, we're going to, break down the analogy in the whiteboard more. But essentially, look, it's thinking. And in a second, it's going to output some of the action items that it's building. All right, take a look at this. Boom, it's creating TypeScript types for task. What does that mean? No clue. Who knows, right? Doesn't matter. It's doing its thing. All right, it has a big list of stuff it's doing. It's writing files. Check this out. You see these three little tabs up here? All right, let me just hit this code tab. Look, it's already creating and writing all the code files for us. Super mind blowing. All right, we're going to come back to this in a little bit when it's finished. All right, we're going to come back when it's finished. Now, for anyone asking, if you're familiar with any vibe coding tools before, you might have heard of like other ones like Lovable or Base 44 or Emergent or whatever. To be honest, it doesn't really matter which tool you use. It's not about the tool, it's how you use it. Right. So that's why we're aiming to teach you the structures, the frameworks, the concepts that we're doing here today. All right. Now, let's go ahead and go back to our whiteboard so we can break down this analogy a bit more. All right. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, let's look at the build timeline. All right. Just like, we're building an app to stay organized for the day, for our career, or for our entrepreneurial business, or whatever it is. All right. We also want to have a general idea of what we're going to build with our app. All right. So here we have the setup. That's what's happening now. Then we can do the database, the basic user interface, which honestly, this one's probably going to come before the database. All right. Sometimes I like to jump around a little bit, which is fine. All right. I like to spice things up. However, we have a general idea of what we're going to do. Task CRUD as well. Does anyone know what CRUD means? All right. Does anyone know what task CRUD means? It's an acronym. All right. Let's see. Studi got it. Product got it. Ken got it. All right. So boom. The C stands for create. All right. This is when we want to create new information in the database. All right. In our case, it could be we're creating a new task. Example, do the laundry. All right. Do my laundry today by 12:30 p.m. All right. We're creating a new task in our planner. All right. Then we have R. R stands for read. This means once we create a task, we are allowed, we can see the tasks, we can read the tasks that we've already created, or we can look at them. Then what do we have? We have U. U stands for updates. That means I've created a task. I don't want to delete it. I don't want to create a new one. I want to change it. Example, let's just say I create a task for 12:30 p.m. for doing my laundry. However, something comes up and I need to finish it by 11:30 a.m. instead. Well, I can update or I can edit that information that I've created. I can edit that task and then change the time. All right, I'm not creating a new one. I'm not changing. I'm not deleting it. I'm just editing it. I'm changing it. I'm updating it. All right, and then the last one, pretty self-explanatory, is delete. All right, I've created information in the database. I've created a task. I'm just deleting it. I'm removing it from the database. All right, I hope that makes sense. So we're going to be able to build the task CRUD. We're going to do AI integration. We're going to do team features so we can add our team. I'm going to go live with you guys, add real members from you guys from the audience onto the actual application. We're going to do authentication. We're going to do all that stuff. All right. So without further ado, let's just check where it's at, and it finished. All right, let me refresh. Look, it's done. Boom. Mind blown. All right, it looks like for some reason it's cut in half a little bit. It looks like it was building it maybe for mobile, but we can fix that later. Not a big deal. All right. So this is bolt.NEWIT finished. Let's try to test it. All right, I have a very important principle. Whenever we're vibe coding, all right, we need to go ahead and basically test every feature. All right, you can see the thumbs up on the screen. Or we need to test the feature. All right, because we need to figure out what's broken. We can't fix what we don't know is broken. So anytime we ask the vibe coder, the tool to build something, we need to make sure it works properly before we move on to the rest. All right, again, back to the house analogy. We don't want to build a kitchen and two more stories if the first floor isn't even correct. All right, so we want to test iteratively. Remember, we're returning to that word iteratively. All right, so let's try to create a new task. What needs to be done? I'm just going to say uh, finish or fix the layout because the layout looks weird. Or we could add more details. We could say this group is the best because you guys are awesome, very, very enthusiastic. We can give it a month in a day. We can just say today. All right, then we can hit create task and boom, it works. All right, it looks like it's black in some areas, so it's looking a little weird. So let's just tell it to fix that. I'm going to say fix the dashboard layout so that it spans the whole screen, and also change the user interface to be a tech-forward white and black theme for all the buttons and all user experience. It's giving it a very simple prompt. All right, now every prompt we have to use Claude first. All right, I said fix the dashboard layout so that it spans the whole screen, and also change the user interface to be a tech-forward white and black theme for all the buttons and all user experience. Okay, let's send this through. Now it's going to do its magic. Let me just pause for a second. All right, I can sense that we've made some big leaps. How do we feel so far? Is this making sense? All right, remember, it feels like, whoa, this is a lot. It's completely normal. Okay, Marcus is energized. Piyush says, so far, so good. Pablo says, so far, so good. Awesome. Veronica says, yes, that's amazing. I love your reactions in the chat. Dominic says, good. Megan says, good. Fantastic. All right. Looks like everyone doing's great. All right. If it feels a little bit new, a little bit overwhelming, remember learning should feel uncomfortable. So that's actually a good thing. All right. Now it's going to do its thing. It's going to take some time. But what I'm going to do is jump back into our analogy. All right. So what do we need next? All right. We built the front end. Just to recap, we did the front ends. That's the dining experience. This is what the customer interacts with. All right. This is where if I'm a customer for the restaurant, I go into the restaurant, I sit down, there's nice music, nice jazz music or club music, whatever type of place you're at. All right. I order a nice steak with sweet potato fries. I love sweet potato fries. All right. Give it to the waiter. The waiter is like the API in this scenario. He brings my order to the back of the kitchen. Kitchen looks at my order and they say, whoa, he wants a steak. I love cooking steak. I'm sure they say that. All right. And then they need to get the food. They need to get the steak, the butter, all that stuff. All right. So they go back to the database. They get the steak, everything I need, or I should say everything they need to cook it, bring it back to the kitchen. All right. Via like an API. So in our application, this would be API, go and retrieve information. All right. They cook it up, right? They're chefing it up in the kitchen. Then they bring it back to me in the front end, which is the dining experience. All right. Next up, I just want to give everyone a little bit of an example of how a database works. Because as soon as we fix the app with the changes I just said, we're going to actually build the database. So I want to give everyone an illustration for how the database actually works. So let me just drag a little arrow. I'm going to say illustration of database. All right, I'll draw a little square around it. Boom, perfect. All right, illustration of database. Now, how many of you are familiar with Spotify? Thumbs up if you're familiar with Spotify. All right. Lots of thumbs up. All right. Spotify, of course, basically it's an application where I can go. All right. I'm Cameron Sullivan. That's my name. I can go sign up to Spotify and I can add songs that I like. All right. It's a music application. I can add songs that I like. All right. So they need to store me, right? When I log into Spotify, they need to actually make sure that I am who I say I am so that I can actually access the songs that I've saved. All right. However, when I sign up in the database, they don't just save me as Cameron Sullivan. All right. There's probably thousands, if not tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people with my name out there. All right. So what do? They create me in the database as a user. Or they create me as a user. And what do they give me? They give me a user ID. All right. And this could be something like 1236 J underscore, supposed to be underscore, like doesn't matter. There's a big list of random letters and numbers and underscores and symbols. But they give me a user ID. You can think of this as your government ID. You know, when you get like a passport or a driver's license or whatever type of ID, it has a bunch of random like numbers and letters. That's what we call a unique identifier, right? A unique user ID. Because, all right, there's probably thousands of people with my name that sign up to the Spotify platform. They need to give me a unique ID that only belongs to me, and then they associate that with the stuff in the database. All right. So, does that make sense so far? When I sign up to Spotify or any application, they need to know who I am for me to log in and see my saved songs. All right. In order to do that, they need to give me a unique user identifier. All right. Now, the databases that we use in vibe coding are called relational databases. What do I mean by that? We can just think of this as like a database is like a table, right? Like with rows and columns with information, like an Excel spreadsheet almost. Think of it as like a spreadsheet, but the spreadsheets are connected to each other. They're related to each other. And I'll explain what I mean now. Now, let's just say that I sign up to Spotify, or they create me as a user, they give me a user ID. Now I go on Spotify. I'm Cameron Sullivan. I have my own user ID. I'm logged into the front end of the application. Remember, this is what I can see as a user, as a customer. All right. And I can go through and add the songs I like. All right. So what do? I go and I add the songs I like. So song here, song here. All right. And what do? They save this information in the database. So what do they say? They say user ID 12376 J underscore 787. He likes this song, and this song. Now, why do they have to store that in the database? Well, because let's just say I go onto Spotify, I add the songs I like, and then I log out of the app. Well, when I log back in, then I need to make sure the songs that I like, the songs that I saved, are still there in the app. All right. So how do they do that? They store it in the database. They store it in the pantry. All right. They keep it in that spreadsheet in the back so they know that those are the songs that I like. All right. Does that make sense? Quick thumbs up in the chat. Just want to make sure. All right. I'm going to try to keep the pace a little bit slow now. Just a little bit. Awesome. 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 Perfect. All right. Now, here's where the relational piece comes in. Remember, I said it's a relational database. So not only do they store that me, user ID, blah, 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 likes this song, and this song, but then they also store information about each song too, right? In a separate little table or spreadsheet. All right, maybe they say, hey, with this song, it's by this artist. All right. And then with this song, it's from this album. And maybe also it's has this genre and it was released on this day. All right. So they also store information about each song. So it's like connected, it's related to each other. And then that would go for each of these songs too. Does that make sense? So that's how we can think of a relational database. All right. Me, Cameron Sullivan. I sign up to Spotify. I go into the front end. Remember, me as Cameron Sullivan, I'm not allowed to go in the back end. All right, I'm not a waiter. I can't go into the kitchen. I can't go into the pantry. However, I sign up to the front end. I add my songs that I like. All right. I log out. I log back in. How is it that when I log back in, I still have all the songs that I saved still there? Well, in the back end, in the database, Spotify makes sure it saves my information, which with songs I like. All right. Some of you are asking, what is the whiteboard tool that I'm using? It's called Excalidraw. All right, it's a very nice tool, but again, you're going to get all the resources, all the links, all the information, everything you need after the session. All right, so no need to worry. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Very, very simple analogy. And I'm sure there's tons of you out there that are like, oh, like, this is elementary. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. I'm sure there's plenty of you out there that understand this already. All right, so let's go back into bolts into our vibe coding tool. All right, let's see if it fixed what we need. So it changed to black and white, which is great, but it still didn't fix the thing where it's taken up half. So I'm just going to give it a screenshot. All right, I'm just going to give it a quick screenshot. I'm going to drag it in. Maybe I'll change the model. I'll just say, please fix the layout so that it spans the whole screen from left to right and not only half. All right, we'll send that through. We're just going to let this sit here for a second. All right. Charles says he's an AI newbie, but he's getting it. Exactly. And you know what? Hey, another rant is coming. All right, another rant is coming. Now, does anyone know what separates the millionaire from the billionaire? All right, what separates these two? Let's just say here's a line: billionaire from the billionaire. All right. Wow, you guys are quick. You guys are quick. Some of you got it in the chat. All right. Amanda specifically got it. All right. There's a difference between a millionaire and a billionaire. Why? I guarantee a billionaire, right? A billionaire could lose all of his money. He could go to zero and he could make it all back. All right. Here's the gap between a millionaire and a billionaire. I'm just going to make this a dotted line. I guarantee, all right, that a billionaire could lose all of his money. All right. But guess what? He can make it back. All right. Billionaires down here. He could make it back. Why? All right. Knowledge. Knowledge is what separates a millionaire and a billionaire. There's a reason there's a gap because the billionaire knows something the millionaire doesn't. That's why a millionaire can go bankrupt and they can go back. A billionaire can go bankrupt. They can go back to being a billionaire because they know knowledge that the millionaire doesn't. So that's why everyone here learning without skill, you're going to be able to learn dramatically. Like it took me years to learn this stuff, but Outskills put together all these amazing mentors that are experts in their fields. They're giving you their knowledge, right? Knowledge is the gap. And so you're able to now cut your learning curve down from months and months to maybe a couple weeks. All right. So this is why we're giving you the knowledge here. So if it feels a little uncomfortable, it's because you're getting expert knowledge as a beginner. However, if you go through it a couple times, it's going to click like no problem, I promise. All right. So that's why, again, a little bit of a rant. I have a big rant I always go on. I'm saving that for the ends. We'll get there. But that's just like a little of a disclaimer, not even a disclaimer, but like just letting you guys know if it feels uncomfortable, if it feels overwhelming, it's because you're getting, quote unquote billionaire knowledge. All right. And it's going to take some time to adapt. However, you're going to be able to cut the learning curve dramatically. All right. Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I heard the little bloop. I heard the little bloop from Bolt, which means it's done. It fixed it. All right, boom. Remember, what did I say at the top of the presentation? It's going to be messy. It's not going to be all perfect. What happened? All right, I tested it out. There was an error. All right, the layout was all messed up. I took a screenshot, put it in the chat, and I said, please fix this. And now it's fixed. Now what do? We go ahead and test it out. All right, let's go ahead and test it. And by the way, Bibiana, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. She said something very important inside of the chat, and she said the task disappeared. Why has the task disappeared? Ding, 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 ding. Because the database. All right, we have not set up the database yet. So let's go ahead and try to create a new task. I'm going to say, implement database, make sure the tasks save, and we can set the date as today. What is today's date? Let me refresh. It's not the ninth month, it's the first month. All right, it's New Year's. Not New Year's technically, but it's the new year. It's 2026. All right, so it's the 11th of 2026. And I'm probably going to want to change this later so I can just like, oh, boom, now it's working. So I can just click it. There we go. I just had to click it a couple times. That's weird. It's working. All right, we're going to have to fix that. All right, it's being weird. Anyway, let's create the task. Boom. Implement database. We can check it off, which is great. And it looks like the buttons are a little messed up. So we're going to want to fix that. So what I'll do is just screenshot. I'm just going to drag it in and say, please fix the buttons and the icons in the buttons so that they're white. I can't see the delete button or any of the other icons because they're both black. Because what's happening here is it's just black buttons and there's no like, you should be able to see like a delete or an edit, I'm guessing is what this will look like. All right, so we're just going to tell it to fix that. Now, what we also want to do is implement the database. I need some more tea. All right. Got some green tea here, by the way. I love green tea. Okay, so we want to implement the database. Now, inside of Bolts, where can we find the database? Raphael said data beast. Exactly. All right, where do we find the data beast? Right here. There's a little button here. Looks like this stack of coins or whatever. All right, we can click this and that's the database. All right. It's very simple to create the database in Bolts. All we have to do is ask Bolt to start the database. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to say, also create the database to facilitate this application. All we're going to say. All right, if we need to get more detailed later, we can, but we're just going to say to create the database so far. All right, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and send this through. Hopefully in one shot, it'll fix this black button problem, and it'll also create the database for us. So let's go ahead and create it. All right. Now, Syed said, do we need to give the columns for the database? No, we don't. All right, it's smart enough to realize what we need. Now, sometimes it helps to go ahead and plan this out with Claude, or we go to Claude and say, hey, please create the database structure for us. That way, Bolt has a better shot. But this application is simple enough that we actually don't need to tell it the exact columns and everything. It's smart enough to figure it out alone. All right. Now, someone's asking, Amanda said, why black and white? No particular reason. I just like black and white, like me, my company, and my brand. I don't know. I just like black and white. It's like sleek. It's like techie, in my opinion. So, all right. Now, so what else can we do with this analogy? All right, let's look back at our build timeline. All right, so we've handled the basic user interface. We've handled the task CRUD, which is creating tasks, reading tasks, updating tasks, deleting tasks. All right. Now we need to implement the database. All right. So we're moving along. What else needs to get done after that? Right. I'll mark this off once the database is all finished. We need to do AI integration. We need to do team features. We need to do authentication. And then we need to take this and deploy it into a real world application where anyone can go ahead online and figure out how to actually use it, or not figure out how to use it, but just use it. All right. And by the way, at the end, I'm going to show everyone quickly how to monetize this, how to make money from it, how to link it up with the payment processor. Basically, within a week, you can build an app, set up a payment processor, start collecting payment from users. All right, I'm going to show everyone out that. All right. So Bolt should be fixing this. It's just setting up the database. Now, the database that Bolt uses in the background, all right, is something called, oops, Supabase. Maybe some of you have heard it, but essentially it's just a platform that uses what's called a Postgres SQL database, which if this sounds like, whoa, what is that? That sounds crazy. Don't worry about it. It's not that important. But essentially it just uses a backend provider for databases. It just kind of like uses that in the back. So it creates your own data. It creates the database on your behalf for you. And it uses Postgres SQL, which is essentially the language for the database, right? Remember, it's a relational database and it's essentially a language that it can use to search the database. All right. Just to keep it very, very simple. Angelique said Nicki Minaj, super bass. Super funny. All right. Awesome. So let's expand upon this analogy a little bit more. All right. And how do we do that? Well, what else do we need? I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit. We need authentication. All right. And before we touch on that, it looks like Bolt just finished and it says database configured. All right. So let's test this out. Let's see if it works. All right. If I just click this, you can see now the database button is highlighted. Let's go ahead and click that. All right. Now we have a table. We have a tasks table. All right. And there's no results yet because we haven't added anything. So let's go ahead and try to add something and see if it works in the database. All right. What needs to be done? Not fix, but add authentication, for example. Make sure users can log in. Perfect. All right. Is there any way I can do that thing again? Right. Oops. Add authentication. Little technical hiccup. Make sure users can log in. Set a date. We'll say 2nd of January or 1st of February. Yeah. 2026. All right. Now, create task. See if it works. It's still doing that weird thing with the buttons, so we could ask it to fix that again. All right. Which we can do, but let's just see if it works. All right. So this is the edit button. So if I click this task, I can edit it, which is great. That's perfect. Well, let's see if I can delete it. But before I delete it, let's check the database. Boom. Look, we added a task. It has the title, it has the description, has the status of it, the due date, the created at, the updated at, and all that good stuff. All right, so let's try to delete it. Delete task. Let's hit delete. Let's look at it again. Now there's no task in the database because we deleted it. So we've confirmed the task CRUD in the database is all working. Let's just try to fix this really quick. Please make it so the buttons are transparent because I can't actually see the little icons for the edit and the delete tasks. Also, create it so that each task can fit in the category of to do, in progress, or done, finished. Create a whole different color palette if needed. Basically, what I just asked it to do is change around the buttons to fix it, and then also create a new color palette for the whole application to see if that gives it a good shot. All right, I also said to make it so I can put the tasks into different categories. To do, in progress, and then finished. All right, which is awesome. So, we added a screenshot before, but it looks like because we asked it to do the database, maybe it went ahead and did that first. So when in doubt, ask for one small thing at a time, but should be able to fix it after this. All right, now where are we at the build timeline? We've done a database, done the basic user interface. We have the task CRUD. Now, what do we have to do? AI integration. All right. Mary Bova said it makes me feel better that even professionals get unexpected results. Absolutely. All right. Remember, vibe coding is a messy experience. It's not always perfect. Sometimes I'll do these sessions, everything works out perfectly, and I actually don't prefer that. I prefer we run into these problems together. That way, when everyone here goes and tries this on their own, they know the type of process to do when they run into those problems, when they run into those errors. All right. It's a very iterative process. Remember, vibe coding definition. All right. Natural language, such as large language model, generates the code. All right. Okay, it looks like they must have changed the definition. But anyway, Andrej Karpathy, he coined it as the iterative process, which is very important. All right, now next up, we want to do the AI integration. We're going to do that next. So I want to break down something very, very important. All right. What do we have with AI? Okay. What do we want to use with AI? Well, we want a feature where we can just type in a simple prompt, like launch a new marketing campaign, and it gives us a bunch of different, like 4 to 8 subtasks or whatever. All right. So, what do we want to do? Well, we want to use the GPT models. All right. Now, let me break this down. OpenAI has their wonderful trained GPT AI models. Is everyone aware of that? All right. Like ChatGPT. You know how OpenAI, Sam Altman, you can go and you can talk to their AI models, right? Just want to make sure. Now, there's two places we can go and speak to these different to OpenAI's wonderfully trained AI models. Number one, ChatGPT. All right. This is where we can use GPT models in their own application. All right. All right. This is where we can use the GPT models in ChatGPT's, in OpenAI's own application, which is ChatGPT. All right. Number two, we have what's called the OpenAI API. All right. The OpenAI API. Excuse me, got some hiccups. All right. So this is where OpenAI allows us to use their GPT models in our own, oops, come on, applications. All right. Now, how do we do this? Using their API. All right. Very, very important. So let me just move this little diagram. I'm going to put another section over here, which is like extra notes. All right. I'll title this section extra notes. Just make it a bit bigger. All right. So it's organized. Put all the extra notes over here. All right, so OpenAI has their wonderful trained GPT AI models. There's two places we can speak to them. Number one, inside of the ChatGPT application, which is their own app that they've built that we can chat. Now, if we wanted to use their AI models in our own application, all right, we have to use what's called the OpenAI API. Now, what is an API? Does everyone remember? An API is application programming interface. Essentially, that's a way where we can get and receive information, or we can give and receive information. For example, or using their AI models, right? We can give information, like we can ask their AI models questions, and we can receive answers. We can receive information. All right, that is the API. It's almost like the waiter, all right, getting the information back and forth. Now, a very important question. How does OpenAI, and I'm sure some of you out there will know, how do they know that we're allowed to use their GPT models? Does anyone know? API keys. Yes. Nice one. You guys are getting it. All right. API key. That's how they know. So, what we can do is get what's called an API key, which brings me to the next point. All right. The sticky note principle. Now, what is an API key? Think of an API key as like your password, but it's also connected to your wallet. All right. Very, very important. Let me write this down. Okay. And I'll go back to the sticky note principle. An API key is like a password. All right. That should always be kept secret. All right. Should always be kept secret. All right. OpenAI gives it to you. Now, why should it be kept secret? Because not only is it like a password, but it's also connected to our wallet. All right. Not only does OpenAI have to give us a key, like an ID for us to be able to use their API, they also have, it's not free. All right. It costs money. It's cheap, but it costs money. All right. So think of it as like our credit card. It's connected to our bank. All right, Bibiana, that's what I mean by wallet. It's connected to our bank. It's like a password. It's connected to our money. All right. It's almost like a credit card. You know how we have a credit card number or a debit card, and we want to keep those numbers secret because if anyone has it, they can use our money because it's connected to our bank. Same thing with an API key. API key is literally just like a string of like numbers. It's like an ID. It's like a credit card number that tells OpenAI that we can use their AI models, and at the same time, it charges us money when we do use it. All right, it's like a code. All right, it's like a routing number, like Jasmine said. All right, which brings me to the sticky note principle. All right, think of your API key as something you need to keep super secure. Think of it as like a sticky note you put on your kitchen fridge. All right, keep your secrets in one place. So make sure when you get your API key, save it, keep it secret, and only allow trusted people to see it. All right, because if anyone has that, they're connected to your money. All right, so how do we do that? How do we keep it safe and secret in our application? We use what's called the .env file. All right, this is a file where we can put it and it keeps it safe. It keeps it hidden. All right. So .env file, it stands for, oops, environment variables. All right. Remember, API key is never to be exposed. It's for your eyes only. And it's like your password and connected to your money. I'm going to put that in red because it's important. All right. Now, so I want to do a quick temperature check. I know this is all new information. Does that make sense? All right, we have this wonderful application in Bolts. Let's see if it fixed this. New task, great task. All right, the buttons are still there. We can fix that later. All right, I want to make sure we move along. We'll fix it at the ends. It's being a little bit picky. Sometimes it's not picky, sometimes it's picky. All right, we'll fix that later. But now we have to do, in progress, and done, which is awesome. All right, we can set the level of the task. All right, so do, in progress, and done. All right, in progress, done. All right, which is awesome. Okay, so what do we want to do now? We want to do the AI breakdown. All right, it's asking for my OpenAI API key right now, which is bad. All right, it's asking for it now because, just a moment, we don't want to actually put our API key inside of the application. All right, we want to keep it secure. Why? Just to be very, very, very precise, why don't we want to put the API key in the application? Well, because that means when users log in and sign up to our app, then they have to put their own OpenAI key every time for them to use the AI models, which you could do that if you wanted to, but it's not a good user experience. All right, there's people that are not technically oriented whatsoever. All right, so it's not a good user experience to have them go figure out how to get an API key and then put it in and then charge them. Like it's better if you just put your own API key in the back, all the users use that API key, and then you can just charge them a margin on top. So when they use AI, you actually make a profit. All right, does that make sense? So what do we need to do? We need to make sure that it uses this not within the actual application, but we put it in the .env file, which again keeps it safe. It's like a sticky note. So let's give Bolt a prompt. Please use the AI task breakdown feature with the OpenAI API key inside of the .env file, creating a placeholder variable. Use the GPT 3.5 turbo model to use the AI task breakdown feature. All right, just giving it a simple prompt. We might have to make it more detailed. Now, this is, if there's ever a challenging part, it's this part right here. All right. If there's any challenging part, it's this part. This is where we might run into some errors. We might have to do it a few times. All right. So I said, please use the AI task breakdown feature with the OpenAI API key inside of the .env file. So let me just write it. Creating a placeholder variable. Use GPT 3.5 turbo model to create the AI task breakdown feature. All right, let's see if this works. This should work. All right, and then what this is going to do It's going to create a spot in the .env file for us to put our API key. All right. Now, the vibe coding applications are so good nowadays, it automatically creates the .env file for us. All we have to do, see here, is click this little code button. All right, we click that, and right here is .env. After it's done, it's going to create a space for us to put the API key, and we just put it in there. All right, not a problem. In the meantime, all right, let's go back up. I want to make sure we're touching on everything we possibly can. I'd rather give you guys more information than too little. All right, now, what are we doing? All right, cool. We're going to do AI integration. We're going to do the team stuff, but we have to get to authentication. So let's go back into our analogy for the restaurant. All right, let's just say in this scenario, we're in a fine dining restaurant. And I know you guys can't see this. I'm going to make it bigger in a second. Make sure it's black. I'm going to open this up. All right. And then just to make it clear, Sarkar asked, are we doing this because we want our tool to talk to some external application to make an AI task breakdown? Yes. Because we want to use the power of AI in our own application. How do we do that? Remember, we do it by using the OpenAI API, which is like, a text message to the AI model saying, hey, I need this answer. We get the answer. We could use it directly in our app. And so that's why we need the API key. All right. We need to be able to communicate externally with the AI that OpenAI has. All right. I hope that makes sense. We need our waiter to get and receive that information. All right. Back to the restaurant analogy. Remember, all right, we have the front end. This is the dining experience. Again, me, Cameron Sullivan, I sit down. All right. I order my steak. Waiter takes it back to the kitchen, says this is what he needs. Chef goes back to the pantry to get the ingredients, cooks it in the kitchen. Waiter brings me back my food in the front end. All right, that's the overall analogy so far. Let's just say now we're in a fine dining restaurant. What happens in a fine dining restaurant? Well, we need a reservation. All right, they need to know that we have a time reserved for that slot inside of the restaurant at that time. All right, so what do we call this? Does anyone know? Touched on it a little bit earlier. Authentication. Exactly. Authentication. So let's go ahead and draw this out. All right, authentication. All right, we think of this as the reservation desk. All right, we can also think of this in the application space as a login. All right, let's just say it's a fine dining restaurant. I get to the reservation desk. They say, hey, who are you? They check Cameron Sullivan. Okay, cool. You have a time. Now you're allowed into the restaurant. Now, just a simple explanation. All right. How do they know that my name specifically is in the system for that time? What are they checking to make sure that me, Cameron Sullivan, has a time slot at the fine dining restaurant at 7:30 p.m.? All right. Database. Megan got it. All right. Yes, they store that information in the database. So let me just draw an arrow. They're going to go ahead and retrieve that over here. All right, so boom, I get to the restaurant. They check the database. Is it allowed? Sure. There would technically be an arrow pointing back here. All right, then authentication. They say you're allowed in. You have a time at 7:30 p.m. I checked in the database. I checked in my system, right? That's what they would say. And then I'm allowed into the front end. That is authentication. That is like a login. That is like if I sign up to Spotify, right? If I go to Spotify.com right now, all right, I would have to hit sign up. Okay, boom. I have to put in my email address or sign in with Google or whatever. All right, this is the reservation desk. Very, very simple. All right, now let's check if Bolt finished. All right, this is the hardest part. Let's see if the AI feature is working. Okay, first, you can see it's created a variable space for our OpenAI API key. Now, we need to actually go and get the API key. So I'm going to show everyone how to do that right now. All right, and remember, Don't ever show anyone your API key, but I'm going to show you just for demonstration purposes. All right, I'm going to show you quickly, but I'm going to delete it after. All right, if you ever get an API key, you can always delete it after and get a new one, just to be clear. All right, I'm going to show you. Don't do as I say, not as I do. All right, so what do? We go to, oops, not Play-Doh, platform.openai.com. All right, I'm going to outline this in a set of steps on the whiteboard. All right, just so it's easy for everyone to see. We go to platform.openai.com. Oops, just making sure we're good. All right. You go to platform.openai.com, you sign up for an account. This is what you have. Then what you're going to do is go to settings. All right, once you're in settings, here on the left, you can go to API keys. All right, once you have an API key, you can hit create new secret key. All right, I'm just going to call it outskill, best cohorts. All right, select the project. I'm going to hit default project. I can hit create secret key. Boom, this is my API key now. You can copy it. Once you hit done, you're never going to be able to see it again. You're never going to be able to see it again. All right, so what I'm going to do is just outline these steps for you over in the extra notes. All right, how to get OpenAI API key. Remember, you guys are going to have access to this whiteboard. One, head to platform.openai.com. Number two, sign up if you don't have an account yet. Number three, verify identity. Sometimes it makes you verify your identity depending on where you're from. Number four, add billing. Okay. Number five, head to, I'm just going to paste the URL for the API keys. All right. Head to this URL. Let me just move this over really quick. All right. Number six, create secret key. Number seven, give it a name and then hit generate. Number eight, most importantly, copy the key and save it. And don't show anyone. Don't show a bunch of students live online. Okay. don't do that, even though I just did that. All right, and I'll just make this nice and organized really quickly, send it to the back, make it look pretty like a sticky note. Perfect. And I like sticky note color. Okay. Now we have the API key. I'm just going to copy this, bring it back into Bolt. I'm in the env file. See, I'm just going to delete this after it says equals. Lakshmi said, what happens if you show the key? Well, anyone who has access to that key can then use it. And again, they have access to your wallet, basically, meaning like they can use the key as much as they want, and it's going to pull money from your bank. So you don't want anyone else having it. I'm just going to paste the key. All right, I pasted it in. That's the full key. And then what I can do is actually hit save here. All right, because I'm editing the file manually, there's a little dot which shows that I have to save it manually. All right, now let's check if it works. Just going to refresh it, try to use the AI breakdown feature. I'm going to write, launch a new marketing campaign. Hit generate tasks. Moment of truth. Boom. Power. Look, it just did it. All right, look, it generated a bunch of tasks. Define campaign objectives. Clarify the specific goals and targets for the marketing campaign. All right, research target audience. Create campaign. Like okay, I don't like that one. All right, I don't want to research the target audience. I already know my target audience. Boom, X. Don't want it. All right. Alok said something finally worked. The hardest part worked first try. Gotta love it. All right. So set campaign budgets. All right. I'll allocate funds for advertising, content creation, and any other campaign expenses. I don't like that one. All right. However, I like this. I'm going to add that. I'm going to add that. I'm going to add that. Add that, add that, add that. Now, look, it automatically added all of them for me. I can change this to in progress. That's wonderful. I can change this to done. Doesn't matter. Change that to done. How cool is that? All right. Just a quick temperature check in the chat. Is everyone following along? Doing good so far? Drop a heart if you're loving it. Party emoji if you're excited. A gasp emoji if it's cool. Awesome. Hope we're all staying hydrated. Someone's saying, where can we get free API keys? You can't get a free one, but there's some models you can use for free, just at lower usage, which is like GPT OSS. If you want to research that, you can, but you can use it for free. You just can't use it as much. All right. Now, someone said, what did I type in the AI task breakdown? I went too fast. Let's just check it out. All right. I'm going to delete all these and I'm going to do it again. All right. AI breakdown. I'm just going to say launch a new marketing campaign. Boom, it's done. Hit generate tasks. Now it gave me a bunch of tasks, all right, that I could use inside of my marketing campaign. So I can add the tasks. I can approve any tasks that I like, all right, and I could disable any ones that I don't. I could delete them. Once I hit add, they're all automatically added to the board. All right. Hope that makes sense. Is that good? Everyone aligns before we move on to the next part. Okay. What's next on the build timeline? We did the AI integration. Now let's go ahead and do the team features. All right. Let's do the team features next. So, and by the way, for those of you that are asking, how did I make this presentation with all these nice smooth animations? Well, I actually vibe coded it using the same skills and techniques I'm showing you today. I figured what better to do a vibe coding session presentation than to vibe code the presentation itself. FYI. All right. So we need to actually set up the team features next. So I'm just going to simple prompts. Please add the ability to add team members and assign tasks to them. Also, attached is a screenshot, the buttons for editing a task and deleting a task are pure black. Please fix this. So all of the buttons are blue and there's no black in the user interface. All right, awesome. So I'm just going to give a screenshot of the fact that the buttons are still black. Let's see if it has any more luck fixing it this time. If not, then what we'll have to do is just use Claude to create a more detailed prompt and fix that. But I'm also asking it to add the team feature stuff. So let's go ahead and incorporate that. Now, in the meantime, all right, let's move a little bit quicker. Let's expand this restaurant analogy even more. Okay? So let's just say in this restaurant, we have what's called, all right, I'm going to give it a nice color. In an application, all right, we have what's called the server. All right. Not like the waiter server, but like the server, like you hear the technical server. All right. What can we think of this in our application analogy, our restaurant analogy? We can think of this as the restaurant manager. All right. This is who oversees all of the operations. All right. This is who makes sure that the authentication is working correctly, the front end is running, the back end logic, the kitchen is executing correctly, the database is all good. All right. This is the server. All right. We can make sure we can think of this as like overseeing everything. I'm going to make these two little lines that go out here. We can think of this as like, seeing. All right. I'm just going to say oversees all operations, make sure everything runs. All right, make sure the waiter is doing the correct thing, taking my order at the right time, all of that stuff. All right, what else do we have? All right, we're in a fine dining restaurant. Now, we have the actual, and let me just make this a different color, make it like a really light gray. We have the actual building that holds the restaurant. All right, what can we think of that as? Does anyone know? We have this building, which is this box. What is the actual building where everything lives? The front end, meaning the dining experience, the kitchen, the database, the pantry, the reservation desk, the restaurant manager. What can we think of that? Ooh, very, very close. Siva. Very, very close. Yes, Dale got it. Dale got it perfectly. All right, it is hosting. All right, this is hosting. This is where the application, we can think of it as like where the application lives. All right, that's hosting. All right. Very, very simple. But that's not all. All right. The restaurant, how do we know how to get to our restaurant? Does anyone know? How do we know how to get to our restaurant? Well, we have the DNS, or the DNS, okay? The domain name server. Pretty sure. Yeah. Let's just say it's uh 123 restaurant lane. All right. Actually, it's not domain name server, it's domain name system, if I remember from my computer science background in the days. All right, 123 restaurant lane. All right. This is like the restaurant's address. Okay. This is how we find the restaurant. This is the location. On the DNS, it's technically simple to like, the URL, like where you go to find like, Spotify.com. It's kind of like the URL. You can also think of it similar to like the IP address. It's kind of like slightly different. It's like the mechanism. They're all kind of like incorporated. All right, so don't get too confused on that. But essentially, this is where we can get point to the actual building. All right, so now we have kind of the final structure. Okay. Me, Cameron Sullivan. I show up to the restaurant. There's a reservation desk because I want some nice ribeye steak. I want that Gordon Ramsay level steak. All right. So they can't just let any Joe Schmo in. They want to make sure there's high demand that I need to have a not a reservation. Okay. Reservation. How do they do that? Well, the hostess checks the little log, the little paper, the little system. What does that actually mean in our scenario? It's the database. She checks the database. Does Cameron Sullivan have a slot at 7:30 p.m. for a nice fine steak? Yes, he does actually. All right, so Cameron Sullivan has checked in. He's logged in. Okay. So they allow me into the front end for the dining experience. This is where me, Cameron Sullivan, this is where I interact. All right, I sit down, I have a nice coffee, a nice steak, maybe a little bit of soup, whatever it is, some sweet potato fries. All right, how do I eat that meal? Well, the waiter or the API takes my order, brings it to the kitchen, and I know I've repeated this a bunch of times, just want to make sure, you know, takes it to the kitchen. Chefs are like, whoa, okay, juicy steak, got it, pronto. Need to go to the database, to the pantry to get the ingredients. Brings the ingredients back to the kitchen, good to go. Once he cooks it up, all right, with his expertise, with his nice sear on both sides, perfect medium rare, takes that back to the front end where I myself eat. Now, this whole time, the server or the restaurant manager, right, the big guy, the big boss, make sure all of this happens smoothly, that I have the best time. Everything's running. Chefs have food from the pantry. Hostess make sure people are checking in. All right, but the guests are having a wonderful dining experience. Everything's running and executing. And all of this takes place in the building, which we can think of as the hosting for our application. How do we know where to get to the restaurant? Well, the DNS. Okay, awesome. Does that make sense? All right, I saw lots of hearts. I didn't even have to ask. You guys are great. Best cohort ever. All right, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I heard the little bloop from Bolts, so it looks like it finished. For some reason, it does not want to fix these buttons. All right. We could, if we really wanted to, we could use Claude to fix this. We'll do that at the end if we have time. All right. Usually this doesn't happen. Usually a pretty simple fix like this is no problem. But what we can do is just, hey, go to Claude and say, hey, no matter how many times I ask, it's not changing the fact that these buttons are just black. Please give me a simple prompt to fix this. All I have to do is that, get a nice prompt, bring it back into Bolt, promise it's going to fix it. I just want to make sure we have time for everything else. So let's check out the team features. All right. Who wants to get added to the team? Who wants to be a team member? Let's see. Navdeep. Navdeep said it with lots of enthusiasm. All right. Just going to say Navdeep at example.com. Role? What is his role? He's the expert viber. I have because he had so much enthusiasm. He had like all caps me. You know what? He's not the expert viber. the hype guy. All right, he's the hype guy. That's who Navdeep is. All right, boom. Looks like we have a little bit of a hiccup. All right, I added it, but it didn't save. So we need to fix that. Let's try it again. All right, Navdeep at example.com. Boom, the hype guy. Add member. Okay, didn't save. Let's go ahead and just tell Claude, hey, no matter how many times, and let me actually take a screenshot of the task. How many times I ask, it's not changing the fact that these buttons are just black for editing and deleting tasks. I can't see the icons. Please give me a simple prompt to fix this. Also, it created a table to add team members and the corresponding functionality. However, when I add the team member, it doesn't actually save in the database and it doesn't render on the screen. Please create a simple prompt to implement both these features. Keep in mind, you don't have context to the project structure and how the databases are set up. So don't introduce any conflicting information that will break the project. All right. Now, this is an important technique that I use. I say, keep in mind you don't have any context to like how Bolt built the project or the code it's using or any of that stuff. So, hey, don't introduce anything that you're not sure about that might break it. All right, now we're going to get a simple prompt. See if it works now. Okay. Let's give it some time. All right. All right. If I prefer one prompt, it's giving me one prompt. All right, let's take this, let's bring it back, and let's change it to the smarter model again, and then let's see if this works. If not, we're gonna have to go through it again. Remember, this is iterative. This is the iterative process. All right. Now, what else should we talk about? Well, I actually have lots to talk about. By the way, remember, at the end of the session, I'm giving two little bits of knowledge. Number one, how you can monetize this, how you can connect this to a payment processor. And number two, how you can use this bolt for free. It's a little bit annoying for how to use it for free, but again, I'm going to show you how. All right. So let me go a little bit further in the presentation. We have what are called the 6 commandments of vibe coding. All right, this is important. I want to make sure we get through everything, so I'm just going to jump ahead in the presentation a little bit. Hope that's okay. Number one, start with a plan. All right, AI cannot read your minds. It can only read scripts. Create a clear PRD before coding. All right, remember, AI likes detail. It likes detailed, structured information. So create a detailed PRD before coding. That's what we did with Claude. All right, the PRD journey. Use competitor research for comprehensive features. Remember, that's what we did when we screenshotted Asana, Trello, and Monday. All right. Number two, give clear, specific instructions. Furthermore, right, don't say build me a recipe app. Instead, first create a simple homepage with a search bar in the middle and a title at the top that says find your next meal. When AI misunderstands, break it into smaller, clearer parts. Very, very important. All right. Very important. All right. Number three, build and test in small pieces. Add one feature at a time. Test after each edition and debug immediately. All right. You don't want to be the one that's, oh, I add all these features, I don't test any of them, and you just keep adding on because there's going to be stuff that's broken. All right. Imagine if we didn't test that team feature. Well, what happens when we try to build this thing to a enterprise level app and the team feature's not even working? All right. Bad idea. So we want to make sure every time we ask it to do something, we test it rigorously because we can't fix what we don't know is broken. All right, this is maybe another paradigm shift for everyone. Very important. All right, we want to do the best. We want to do our best to try to break the application ourselves. We want to try to break it. All right. Why? Again, because we can't fix what we don't know is broken. We call this a chaos monkey, or we call it a chaos monkey. Or we want to be a chaos monkey. We want to jump into our app, bang around with a bunch of hammers. Looked like I was just playing the drums for a second. All right. But we want to try to disrupt it. Or we want, because then we can figure out where it's bad so we can make it good. Very important. All right. Testing is almost as important, if not more important, than actually building it. Okay. Save your work constantly. The good part is Bolt actually saves it for you. And what you can do is use version history in Lovable or Bolt or whatever. So if we were to run into an issue, and let's just say this last change that we asked for just went ahead and, uh, okay, it looks like it still didn't fix it. It's being very picky for some reason. All right, but let's just say for some reason it didn't fix, it broke the application. Everything wasn't working. What we could do is actually revert it to a previous saved version. All right. We can revert it to a previous saved version. All right. We can hit restore here. These are little like bookmark saves. Remember how like back in college, before we had fancy software, we used to like write an essay and we had to manually hit save. And if we messed something up, it was like game over. All right. We'd have to go back to the last save. Same thing here. It has previous versions and saves. So if we like something in a past version that was working, all right, what we can do is just restore this version to a previous working version. This is a super simple fix. For some reason, it's just not putting an icon in there. I don't even think it's black on black. I think it's just not even putting an icon. It's just a layering issue. I don't want to waste everyone's time. I could do this big. I've been trying to avoid doing a big prompt to fix this because it takes long to execute. So if we have time at the end, we'll fix it. But again, this is just like no problem if you wanted to fix it on your own. Okay, so let's test if the team member issue has been fixed because that's the big one. All right, we had Navdeep. All right, that was his email, and we had the hype guy, add member. Okay, it works. It fixed that at least, which is great. Still doing these weird black buttons. All right, who else wants to get added? Let's see. Charlene has also got lost of enthusiasm. Charlene, what do you want your nickname to be? Let's see. Let's see if I can find her. Angelique's very enthusiastic too. The active troop. Okay. The active troop is Charlene. And then we have Angelique. She said, me. Angelique, what do you want your nickname to be? I'm going to try to find it. There's tons of people. I can't see it. All right, I'm just going to give Angelique, I'm just going to give you a nickname. You're going to be the absolute Viber. Awesome. All right, we got 3 team members. Let's check out the database. Team members, boom, Navdeep, Charlene, and Angelique. We got their emails. We got their roles. Everything that we need. Okay, how are we feeling? Next, we're going to set up the authentication. We're going to set up the login. All right, let's go ahead and do it. So, all we need to do is give it a simple prompt. Add standard authentication with a nice landing page with highly compelling copy driven for conversion to demonstrate the dream outcome and the pain states of my application. Create a standard sign up and sign in with built-in authentication. All right, what I did, I told it add standard authentication with a nice landing. I told it to write a landing page with compelling copy driven for conversion to demonstrate, again, when we're creating like compelling copy or like we want a landing page to like lead to sales. We want to do what's called, painting the dream state, pressing on the pain points. This isn't a master class on like copywriting and selling, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But basically, we also told it to create a standard sign up and sign in with built-in authentication. Because what Bolt has, if you just click this, they have their own authentication that you can just sign up with either email, like you can enable it so it's email, so people can sign in with email and password, or you can do the whole sign in with Google, which is cool as well. Basically, for email, they give you some options. All right, so they have confirm email. You guys know when you sign up to a platform and it like sends you a verification email to make sure you're not like a bot. That's what this does. So we could enable this. So whenever someone signs up, sends like a verification email. I'm just going to keep it off for now. Then we have secure email change, which basically makes users required to confirm an email change on like an old email address into new one. All right. Then we have secure password change. So users will need to be recently logged in to change their password without requiring reauthentication, which means like if they want to change it, they have to be logged in recently. Okay. I'm just going to keep that off. Prevent leaked passwords. All right. This is like, you know, those when you sign up to a platform and it has that super annoying, like, hey, you need it to be 8 characters with a capital, um, an underscore, or I mean, a symbol, a lowercase, a number. That's what this does. All right. I'm just going to keep that off. And then you can do customized email templates, which allows you to change the confirmation email that gets sent out. Awesome. All right. So once it finishes authentication, should be able to basically sign out and sign in and create tasks and all that good stuff. All right. Now let's continue through the 6 commandments. In the meantime, we have number 5, don't panic, start fresh. All right. Don't panic, start fresh. Avoid sunk cost fallacy. So let's just say for some random reason, which isn't true, but for some random reason, no matter what I did, I spent 2 days trying to change those buttons from being black, which again, that's an over exaggeration. That would never happen for a problem that small. I'm like, oh my gosh, I spent all this time and now what? Right? I don't want to start over. That's sunk cost fallacy. We don't want to do that. Why? Because remember, the easy part nowadays isn't, or the hard part nowadays isn't building the application. We built this whole thing in like less than an hour so far. All right, the hard part is coming up with the idea, what are the features that needs to be included, what are the target market, etc. That's the hard part. So just starting a new chat, starting a new project and coding it from scratch, sometimes that's all we need and it gives it a better structure anyway for us to build on top of it. All right? If it's too messy, you can either revert it to a previous version or you can just start in a new chat. All right. Number 6, use platform guidelines. All right. Every platform, whether it's Bolt.new or Lovable or Cursor or whatever it is, it has those prompting guidelines. Use those to your advantage. All right. Use those to your advantage. Very, very important. Those are the 6 commandments. All right. I have some more stuff to cover after. It should be almost done, the authentication. What happens after we're done authentication? Well, we have what's called, we finish the team features actually. After authentication, we have what's called the deployment, which is basically I have this app. How can I put it on the internet and make sure anyone can log in? So we'll cover that. Then I'm going to cover how to show you how to connect with your Stripe, like a payment processor, and get paid for this. And then also how to use this for free. Actually, you know what? Should we cover how to use this for free now? Let me know in the chat. All right, I know the pace is getting a little bit slower now because we're waiting for Bolt to finish, but okay. Now, let me just be clear. This isn't the easiest, prettiest method to use it for free, but it does work. All right, it does work. So, in order to explain how to use this for free, I need to explain GitHub. Does anyone know what GitHub is? All right. Lots of you know what GitHub is, but for those of you that don't know what GitHub is, GitHub, this is a platform where, to simplify it, you can save your code projects. All right. You can store and list your code bases here. And it's free, by the way. All right. So what we can do? All right, let's just say we're building an app, building MVP in bolt.new. All right. Then what we can do is we can take this project that Bolt has coded and we can bring it into GitHub. And I'll show you how in a second. We can bring it into GitHub for free. Now, what does that do? It saves a copy of the code inside of GitHub. It's like a locker. All right. It's like a locker storing all the code base. All right. Now, what does that mean for us? All right. GitHub is the source of truth. Even if I deleted my project on Bolt, or if Bolt for some reason had an error in the chat got deleted, if I put it into GitHub, it still exists there. Not everything's lost. Like we still have everything. So we always want to use GitHub no matter what. All right. Saves the project code here. Hope that's clear. However, here's how we use it for free. Okay. Bolt.new offers a free trial. All right. So they offer a limited amount of tokens that you can use per month with a new account. All right. So let me just shorten that. So what can we do in this scenario? We can create a new account in bolt.new. We can then push the project into GitHub, meaning we can save the code into GitHub. And then what can we do? Well, we just create a new bolt.new account with a new email. And then we can just bring it from GitHub back into bolt.new and then just continue building exactly where we left off. Booyah. How does that sound? All right. And then we can just recycle. All right. It's a little bit of a hack around. It's a little bit, I'm not saying it's not annoying because you have to keep creating new accounts and stuff. But if you're absolutely strapped for budget, you can do this process. All right. You can do this process to go ahead and build an app that works, start collecting money. And once you have money, obviously you can invest in a Bolt subscription. So, how do we bring it into Bolt Hub? Bolt Hub. Wow, I need more tea. GitHub, there's a little button here. You click this little button. All right, you can just call it whatever you want. So I can say Outskill Rocks. You can hit create repository. After you log into your GitHub, it's automatically going to create for you. Boom, it's that easy. Makes it super simple. However, I tried to hide my excitement. Look at that. It built the whole landing page for us. Let's look at this thing. Oops. Stop drowning in chaos. Start shipping results. You know that sinking feeling when tasks pile up, deadlines blur together, and your team is constantly asking, what's the status? Task Flow eliminates the overwhelm so you can focus on what actually matters. Start free today, no credit card required. Isn't that gangster, for lack of a better term? All right, it's created a whole landing page for us. Boom, launch a marketing campaign, design system updates, da 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 da. Sound familiar? All right. What was I working on again? That's a problem. Who's doing what? That's a problem. This project feels endless. That's a problem. Imagine instead crystal clear priorities. All right. 2.5x faster task completion, team alignment without meetings, AI that thinks for you, the satisfaction of done. All right. Amanda said hella gangster. That's for show. All right. We're ready to take back control. This is where we test the login. All right. Let's start free today. So I'm just going to give it, and by the way, the user interface of this looks very ugly. We can make it look way better. All right. Again, I'll show everyone how. So Angelique says, folks, chisel. Absolutely. Let's put in an email. I'm going to put in my email, create a random password, hit create account. Boom. Love it. Here we are. Okay. Let's make sure that I have been added as a user. Boom. All right. If I go into user management, you can see here I am. Here's my email. You can see when I last signed in, when I was created as a user, all this stuff. All right. Let's go. Anyways, let's test if the sign out and sign in works. So I just signed out. Let me sign back in. All right. Again, put my email, put my password, hit sign in. Boom. Okay. Let me add a new task to make sure that the tasks are saving when I log out and log in. All right. Angelique said she's McLovin this. All right. Let me put I'm McLovin this. All right. 01/11/2026. Boom. Select the team member. I have to, because I created a new account, I have to add all the team members again, but let's hit create task. I'm McLovin this. Sign out. Boom. sign in. Oops, sign in. And for those of you who are wondering, I put my password as boom. Okay, sign in. Boom, I'm McLovin this. All right, awesome. So it works. We can log in as users, we can log in, we can log out, we can do all that stuff. All right, let me see. Can I add my team members back? Angelique, where you at? Oops, come on, work with me. Oh, that's not that. No, that's my email. Come on, I want Angelique's. Here we go. All right, and if I remember correctly, Angelique's the absolute viber. Add member. Boom. Let me edit this. Let me assign this to Angelique because she's making loving this. All right, let me tone it down. But yeah, basically, we have the full app. It works. We have login now. Now all that's left is to deploy it. So, how can we actually put this on a website that anyone can access? And by the way, yes, I know this looks hideous right now. We can make it way better. Anyway, all we have to do is come up to the top and hit publish. All right, it's going to run a little security scan for us, which is great. We can review the security. All we have to do is just click this button and ask Bolt to fix it. It's going to fix everything for us. I'm not going to do that now just to save time. But anyway, it does a security audit. Now I can go ahead and hit publish. Now what it's doing, it's taking all of this, it's going to put it on a URL. Just wait. It's pretty cool. We need some elevator music in here. Okay, little refreshment. Look, now it says the site has been successfully published. We can view it at this link. Perfect. Let's click the link. Anyone could go to this link right now if you wanted to, and you could sign up. No ifs, ands, or buts. This landing page looks amazing, by the way. I mean, it looks pretty good in my opinion for a first draft. Obviously, we can make it way better, but I'm just saying. All right, let's sign in. All right, boom. There we go. We're in. I'm McLovin this. We're all good to go. Website's fully built. This is amazing. Now, a lot of you are going to ask, can we put this on my own domain? Could I put this on my own company URL? Could I put this on aitaskmanager.com? Yes, you can. All you have to do is go to publish and you hit custom domain. It gives you two options. Number one, you can either buy a domain directly within Bolt. All right, you just hit buy new domain, or if you already have a domain that you got on like GoDaddy or Squarespace or Namecheap or wherever you bought your domain, all you have to do is hit. That was funny if anyone just saw that. But all you have to do is hit add a domain you own. You just type in your domain. So like for example, this is mine. All right, I hit add domain, and basically what it's going to do is give me a bunch of instructions. So I mean, I already have this linked up somewhere else, but what it does is it gives you a bunch of instructions to go ahead and just put in the DNS to get it linked up. I promise you, if you have no idea, like, hey, that sounds confusing, just take the little thing that it gives you, put it into ChatGPT, say, hey, I'm a non-technical person. Please give me a step-by-step for how to connect my Bolt website to my domain. I promise you it'll take you less than 5 minutes. All right? Promise. Super simple. So if you want to, you can put it on any custom domain that you want. Now, to talk about monetization. All right, to talk about monetization. How do we make some money from this? Well, all we have to do is go to settings. It has native integration with Stripe. You just click Stripe. All right, you sign up for a Stripe account, log in if you don't have one yet, do all that stuff. And then you just get your Stripe API key. Remember, if you're not sure how this works, there's step by step here, or you can go to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, I'm trying to like link up my Stripe with bolts. Please give me a step by step, super non-technical, make it, easy enough for a third grader to do this. Show me step by step how to do this." Basically, you take your Stripe API key, you paste it here, you hit retrieve my product. It's going to give you a list of all your Stripe products, which is like, $5,000 for whatever thing you're selling. And then you just click that thing, it automatically sets it up all for you. Boom, you automatically have payment linked up into your website. Now, in this hour and a half, however long it was, you have a full-fledged application from front to back where users can sign up. They can have these tasks and stuff. They can pay you, or they can have to pay you before they sign up. You have a full-fledged application front to back. You can add your team members and all that stuff. All right, completely aware, we'd probably want to make it prettier. We probably want to do some more testing, make it more robust. But the point is, from today, is not how to build a project management application. The point is, how can I build any application? How can I use the structures, the tools, the frameworks, the concepts that I learned today to build other stuff? And again, if you feel a little bit overwhelmed, like, whoa, this is new, perfectly normal. I would be surprised if you didn't feel that way. Learning should feel uncomfortable. But remember, all right, another rant is coming. Learning comes from a change in behavior. So you went through this whole week and you just watched these lessons, you never got your hands on the tools, you never built your own app, you never vibe coded, then it was all entertainment for you. All right. It was not learning. Learning comes from a change in behavior. And for any of you that are like, whoa, this is new, this is a big rant that I always like to go on. All right. I just know this from my own experience. There's three attributes you need to be successful. Number one, the willingness to learn. The good news is all of you are here, right? You're all in Outskill. You're trying to better yourself. You're trying to learn this stuff. So you already have the first one, which is huge, right? You're all willing to learn. Number two, willingness to work hard. All right. If success was easy, everyone would have it. All right. And then number three, knowing you're not going to quit. All right. The only way you can guarantee failure, the only way you can guarantee that you fail is if you quit. And vice versa, the only way you can guarantee that you succeed is if you don't. So if you know that you're willing to learn, you're willing to work hard, and that you're not going to quit, it's not a matter of if you become successful, it's just a matter of when. All right. There's nothing stop. I promise you. If you just know, hey, hey, if I just keep trying, if I keep iterating, all right, I'm going to be successful. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you will be successful. Let me break it down even further. All right. Let me just show you a little psychology thing that we can use to get over that uncomfortability of like, when is the success going to come? All right. Now, let me break it down. Back in, I think it was Japan or something, in the 1900s, they had all these trains, right? They had all these trains that would take people like a standard train to different train stops. All right. Now, everyone on the trains was complaining. Why were they complaining? The trains were too slow. So, what did the train manufacturers do? Well, they didn't make them faster. They didn't make the trains faster. They just put a little timer at the top of each cart that said when they were arriving to the next stop. And so the point is here, it's not that people don't like things taking long, it's they don't like not knowing when they're going to get there. So if you just understand that it's not a matter of if you're going to get there, or it's a matter of when, then you know you just have to keep working. You just have to keep working hard, keep learning, keep applying, and you will become successful. All right. I'm very, very grateful to actually teach or at least, maybe inspire. If I could just help one person here at the end of the day, rather inspire them and teach them a little thing, then I'll go to bed at night with a smile on my face. Like I'm very, very grateful to at least show some of the stuff that I've learned over the past 3 years in the AI space. So I really appreciate everyone's kind words. Tracy, Christy, Vikash, you guys are awesome. And before I cut it off, I have a few more things to show you guys, which are important. Okay. A little reality check. You guys are amazing. Thank you for the enthusiasm and the kind words. All right. So, what is vibe coding good for? And by vibe coding, I mean bolt.new, all right, or lovable or whatever. Number one, it's good for rapid prototyping. All right, so you can build and test your ideas quickly. Number two, it's good for building MVPs, 10 to 1,000 users. It's good for validating your ideas, which is the hard part. It's good for getting your first paying customers, right? Making your first dollar online and learning and experimentation. So you can use Bolt, you can use Lovable to build a simple app like I showed you today, make your first dollars online. What is it not good for? It's not good for enterprise level apps with big financial compliance or medical compliance and high complexity and a million users. All right. In order to get it to that point, you use a tool called Cursor, which is similar to Bolt. It just takes more technical background to use. But guess what? If you wanted to, you could just build an MVP with Bolt, get some money in, and then just hire a developer to bring it into like this category with a million user apps. All right. I really, really appreciate everyone here. I just had to touch on that last bit. Now, when things break, very important, when you're vibe coding, all right, look at the error. Don't panic. It's not a big deal. You saw me today. Like you're gonna run into errors. All right, it's inevitable. When in doubt, copy the message, put it in, say fix this. If it doesn't work, all right, you can revert it back to a previous version, or maybe it does fix it because it got it the first try. All right, very, very important. It's always iterative. It's never going to be pretty. All right. So, and actually, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun when you run into the issues, you have to figure out how to fix it. And like, it's kind of like when you beat the game, right? When you beat the video game, it's like, it's all boring now, right? Like, we're humans. We like a little bit of challenge. So let me just say, what do you guys do now? What does everyone here do now, guys and girls? Okay. You don't need to be technical. You need to be specific. AI will handle the rest. All right. So, what is your call to action? Build something this week, and no matter what it is, if it's an AI recipe app, doesn't matter. All right. Share it. All right. Tag me on LinkedIn. Tag the team on LinkedIn. All right. We love seeing, especially I know I do. I love seeing what you guys are building, and I really really appreciate it. I see tons of kind words in the chat, and I can't thank everyone enough. Again, I'm always super grateful to be able to take these sessions. So I hope you all today at least learn one thing. You guys are great. Thank you, Dante. Thank you, Roger. Wow. It was an exciting session. It's been a while since we've done one of these, or me. So it was awesome. I love it.
Absolutely mind blowing, Cameron. Thank you so much for doing this. And I'm just loving the energy that we have in the room and the energy that you have created here for everyone. I've just dropped in your LinkedIn link on the chat. I'm sure people would love to stay connected with you. But folks, one thing that I would like for all of you to remember as we close out on this session as well is that everything that Cameron has tried to teach you today, you have to go ahead and try it on your own. And take the smaller steps and you will be able to go way forward in this journey all by yourself, right? But Cameron, as some of the final words, what is it that you would like to share with the community today?
Yeah, I mean, whatever your ideas, whatever it is, you can make it happen, right? Creativity used to be a limiting factor for humans, but now you have AI that can, you don't have to go to school now to build an app. Or let's just say you wanted to do art. Now you can have AI that can help you with art. You want to create music videos. Like AI can now fuel your creativity. So there's nothing stopping you. Remember, if you're willing to learn, you're willing to work hard, you're not going to quit. It's not a matter of if you become successful, it's just a matter of when. And I really, really appreciate everyone here. And thank you for the kind words.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Cameron. And folks, as you continue to wipe code products, wipe code applications, you should also know that these AI models are getting all the more powerful by every passing day. And probably 6 months down the line, what the kind of applications that we are trying to build today could look very, very different because of the insane capabilities that these AI models would then have. So continue to practice and we will share all of the resources that Cameron has used in this entire session. We also have a workbook that I'll go ahead and show to all of you. But Cameron, I can take it forward from here.
Thank you. Thank you. See everyone later. Good night.
Perfect. Good night. All right. All right. With that, we come to the end of the session on vibe coding. And as Cameron mentioned, it's very important. I could see someone in the chat putting up a message saying, by end of today, I'm going to go ahead and build an application myself. And it's very important that everybody else also thinks in the same way. Take about 30 seconds to 1 minute and try to come up with one idea of any application that could help you personally, could help your organization, something that you want to create for your family, but try and create an application today because as you practice, as you try and do it on your own, you will learn more nuances that probably we have not covered. And that is the only way, as Cameron also mentioned, that's the only way you continue to learn, right? So, what we are going to be doing right now, and you don't need paid accounts of neither Bolt nor even Lovable because all of these platforms come with free credits upon sign up, right? So you just sign up, you put in your new email ID, and you're going to get free credits that you can go ahead and try. And somebody was asking on the chat some time back, yeah, Anka says good habits tracking. That's a beautiful idea that you can go ahead and sort of work upon. Financial tracker is something that somebody wants to build. I saw one question sometime back about how Cursor is different from Bolt or how it is different from Lovable. Well, Cursor is also a vibe coding platform that you could use. You need to go ahead and install it as an application rather than using it on the web, but it has a slight learning curve. So, for all of the people who are very new, Bolt.new or Lovable are great starting points, and then you can go ahead and explore all of the other tools like Cursor also that are available as of today. And for those of you who are asking why wasn't this done on Claude, but why was it done on Bolt? Claude can only write the code for you, which you will then have to extract and execute in a VS Code or something like that. But it will not be able to build the entire front end and make it fully functional, which is what Bolt.new or Lovable can do. And from Claude, you cannot even deploy the applications for them to work later and connect it to your custom domain and attach a backend to it, right? So that is, and even Stripe as a payment gateway, we were able to integrate it from Bolt, but if you were to do it directly from a Claude or ChatGPT, you would not be able to integrate them, right? But with that, let me go ahead and show this workbook for this particular session that we have created for all of you. And this is going to help you as you go ahead and practice. And on this note, I'm also going to go ahead and drop in all of the 4 resource files on the chat box. These are going to really help you get a recap of everything after we close out as well. Let me quickly put the chat on pause for a second and drop in all of these links on the chat. And what I would like for all of you to do is to just copy all of these links from the chat box at this point of time and just simply paste it in your Google document or in your notes. And these are all of the links that you can always go back to later, and you're going to continue to have access to all of these documents. I'm simply going to go ahead, share my screen, and show you the session 4 document that I have shared already on the chat, because this is not just a summary of everything that Cameron taught us. It's actually a task that we would want all of you to go ahead and accomplish today itself, right? There are 2 tasks in this workbook, task 1 and task 2, right? Task 1 is for all of you to go ahead and build a website or a it could be a product website or a product page that you might want to go ahead and build, or you could go ahead and build a personal portfolio website for yourself. And task 2 is where you actually build your first AI product. Now, for both of these tasks, we have given clear steps and instructions for you to go through and for you to follow. And you could use a bolt.new, you could use a Lovable, or you could go ahead and explore other tools like Rocket and Replit as well. The interfaces are the same for any of the tools that you kind of pick to go ahead and execute these tasks. But everything else that you would need, like for example, the prompt that you would need to go ahead and build a website, we have gone ahead and put that in right here. As you go ahead and build your product as well, in case you are confused with multiple different ideas or multiple different features that you want to pick from, we have given you a framework in this document that could be helpful for you, and that will also help you go ahead and draft your entire prompt using any other horizontal LLM like a ChatGPT or a Claude. And I truly hope that all of you make use of this workbook and go ahead and build that personal portfolio website for yourself, or that first AI product as well, and probably talk about it much later. Will you all do that? Give me a thumbs up or a heart if you will all go ahead and try to build something for yourself or for your office today from whatever you have learned. Wonderful. Wonderful. With that, we come to the final leg of the generative AI mastermind. I know that it's close to 6 p.m. EST at this point of time. So I'm going to keep this quick from here. I want to congratulate all of you for completing the 2-day generative AI mastermind end to end. When we got started, we had close to 5,000 odd people join in, but today we are down to the last 2,000 people, and we always knew it that a lot of people would not be able to make it till the end, because it needs a lot of commitment to be able to stick around for almost like 8 hours yesterday and 8 hours today as well. But all of you have done it, and all of you have chosen to start your 2026 learning AI, and I hope this journey continues for all of you. So go ahead and pat yourselves on the back, and what I would want all of you to do at this point of time is also to drop in a thank you message on the chat. This time, not the mentors, not our team at Outscale, but I would want all of you to thank each other. And that is the reason why you can set the chat to everyone at this point of time and drop in a thanks, because all of us came together as a community from different parts of the world, chose to spend the weekend together and learned with each other, and it has been incredible. So drop in that word of gratitude for everybody who has spent this weekend on this call. And this is just the beginning in our own AI journeys, right? The whole year, we're going to be spending it going deeper into AI and applying it so that we can achieve more things. Loving all of the messages that are coming in on the chat. And you should also go ahead and thank whoever has made it possible for you to go ahead and attend this mastermind completely, because somebody would have come in, given you water, given you food while you were trying to learn and while you were trying to have your focus. So go ahead and thank those people as well in person. Now, as we all complete the mastermind, loving all of the messages, but I'm just putting the chat on pause because I'm going to be sharing a few bonuses, or a few bonus links on the chat box at this point of time, one after the other. And I would want all of you to go ahead and take that in. So, quickly pausing the chat, but all of these bonuses that I'm going to be talking about are applicable for everyone. And these are meant to sort of help you continue to practice and continue to pick off from where this mastermind is sort of leaving you, right? Bonus number one, and I think I have close to 6 to 7 bonuses to go ahead and talk about. So we'll keep it quick, but every bonus is going to be very, very exciting. Bonus number one is that this is not the end of the mastermind. We initially thought we would make it a 2 day event, but as we saw the responses coming in over yesterday and today, we wanted to add one more day to this mastermind, and that is going to happen tomorrow. And the reason why we are adding this day is because there is something that we have not been able to cover yet. There is something that we have not been able to teach you yet inside in these 2 days, right? And that is automations. Now, if you think about it, all of the companies have always relied on automating their mundane processes, right? And that is how companies can cut down on the number of people that they would need to run their processes and work with high efficiency. But these automations were only possible to build for people who knew how to write Python language, or even write computer language. But today, there are a lot of no code, low code platforms that have come out, like make.com, N8N, Zapier, which has been there for a very, very long time, but now Zapier is also supporting AI agents. Now, with all of these no code, low code platforms coming up, it has become very, very important for all of the generalists to also go ahead and learn them, because, with this, you will be able to go ahead and automate many processes for yourself, right? Right from, if I have to give you examples, you can automate, if you are a marketer, right? You can automate. We have a system that sort of automates lead scoring for us. So we run ads and we acquire a lot of leads, but which lead to prioritize? All of that is done by AI for us. All of our campaign, if you have ever run ads on Meta or Google, you would understand that there are a lot of campaigns that you end up running, and you have to really go into every campaign to check what is performing well and what is not. All of that analysis today on one level is done by AI for us, and that has reduced a lot of manual time that our team was sort of going ahead and putting in. All of that has been possible because of AI, because of automations that we have been able to build with no code, low code platforms. And that is what we would be teaching you tomorrow, or helping you get started with. Right. And if that sounds exciting, drop in a heart. It's going to happen from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. EST. It's not going to be the full day tomorrow since it's a working day. We're going to be spending like about 3.5 hours learning this, and that will be the end to it. And those of you who are not able to make it tomorrow for whatever reason, you will certainly get the recording of the session as well, right? But this is also something that could seem slightly technical, and that is why we parked it till the end. We were not sure whether we wanted to include that in this mastermind, but because of the response that all of you have gone ahead and given, we are going ahead and including that, and we are doing this tomorrow. So you have another amazing mentor coming in tomorrow to take your journey forward in this mastermind. Now, bonus number two, along with all of the resource files that I've shared on the chat box already, we also have some extensive workbooks that we have gone ahead and built out. And I'm going to go ahead and drop in the link of these workbooks as well. Now, all of these workbooks are meant to help you go ahead and practice. And there are primarily four different workbooks that you will be getting access to inside this file. And each of these are from every session that you have attended. So, for example, yesterday Belik got started with foundations of AI models, wherein he taught you prompt engineering as well. And we sort of covered the importance of prompt engineering and one prompting structure. And this activity is based on that itself. When you go into this workbook, you will find task 1.1 and task 1.2. And task 1.1 here, as you can read, is for all of you to go ahead and make your own prompt library. And how do you do that? You have all of the instructions given here in very, very plain and simple English. We believe that all of you will be able to read this and execute all of these exercises all by yourself. Every exercise, or every task rather, I would say, would take about 30 minutes, but will give you a very good exposure to the tools that you're using and to the workflows that you will end up having to use to be able to complete the entire task, right? And in a similar way, if you go into image and video generation workbook, you will be able to see that everything, the whole workflow that Nick taught us to go ahead and generate, videos or images with AI, all of that has been put up right here. Of course, the tool names could change because we have made sure that we are including only the free tools here, or tools that are giving you free credits. So let's say you go to leonardo.ai or even Runway ML or even Luma AI to convert your images to videos, you will still not have to pay anything because you will be having free credits that you can go ahead and play with, right? And similarly, today WebHub, we taught you how to create Gemini gems, and we have a workbook right here for that. And we also have a workbook for AI automations. That is something that you can look at probably after tomorrow's session gets done, so that you get better clarity about how to go ahead and solve that. But if you are loving this, drop in a heart. And as you drop those hearts in, I'm going to drop this link in on the chat so that you can go ahead and take this in. Here are all the workbooks. Wonderful. I can actually set the chat to myself so that the links will still stay on top for all of you, and I will be able to read whether you are taking these links down or not. Wonderful. And the reason why I'm sharing this link right away, even though this is going to come to you over email, is because I know that today is a Sunday. And if you want to go ahead and practice in this excitement, you can go ahead and do that right away after we finish this call in the next few minutes, right? But this was bonus number 2. Perfect. Now let me go. I've just shared the link of the workbook on the chat. It's just one link that I've shared, but when you click on that, you will be able to see four other links inside that. And I hope you're able to see it use UCF. And Shivani, if you're not able to copy the links from the Zoom call, our team will also be sending these over email, so don't worry about it, right? But I've just shared it once again. You can also click on that link and it'll open in your browser and you can copy it from there if that's going to be helpful. Bonus number 3 is going to be, I hope it's sweet and not bitter, but I'm super excited to also tell all of you that even though we kept telling you all that recordings are something that we will not be able to provide in this mastermind, that was a lie all throughout, right? There is absolutely no reason for us to keep the recordings of all of these sessions with ourselves. All of you will be getting access to all of the recordings of every session that you have attended since yesterday. And the only reason why we did not tell you that is because we wanted you to attend it now and not leave it for later. We have realized that human beings often tend to procrastinate when they know that recordings are available, but we wanted all of you to sit through these learnings live and meet with these mentors as well. And with this curiosity that you have, you can go ahead and re-practice everything, and you're going to have access to these recordings for however long you would want to, because all that we are going to do is we are going to download it from Zoom, and we are going to be uploading it into a drive folder, and we are going to be sending that to all of you over email. So you can keep it for however long you would want to, but I would highly recommend you to go through them once again as soon as possible and practice. And when is it that you're going to get these recordings? Thank you. I love the excitement on the chat, and I truly hope that this excitement converts to real practice for all of you, right? But these recordings are going to come to you in the next 48 hours. So there is a session that is happening tomorrow. After that, we are going to be adding that as well to the resources pack, and we are going to be sending all of it at once to all of you. So my request to all of you is to have patience till Tuesday, and by Tuesday you will all be receiving an email with all of these resource files in that, along with the recordings of every session that you have attended. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, Glenn, for saying that. But now moving on. If you think, if you know somebody who would benefit from attending this mastermind in the future, next time we do it, it could be your friend, it could be your colleague, it could be your team member, it could be your founder as well, or it could be your son or daughter. If you think there is somebody that you know who should be learning AI and who could benefit from attending this mastermind, you could go ahead and gift this AI mastermind to them absolutely for free. We are keeping it for free and sponsoring it for them as well, because it's coming from someone who has attended this completely. All that they need to do is, or all that you need to do in case you want to share this opportunity with others, is to share this link with them. Or when you click on this link, you will essentially end up seeing a screen like this. It will take you to a landing page like this, with this sweet message that says, you're gifting this entire 2 day mastermind to them. All that they will have to do to register is to fill up this application form, or you can also ask them to take it up from the Outskill website, which is outskill.com. And it's going to mean a lot to us as well, because as we stated, we are on a mission to bring generative AI education to over 100 million plus people from across the globe, and you sharing the word with others is going to insanely help us. So I'm going to drop this link on the chat. Whoever wants to gift this mastermind to others, you can go ahead and click on that link and share that application form across, and your friends, your colleagues will be able to register for this as well. Now, everyone who has completed this will also be receiving your certificate. Now, the way we kind of give out the certificates is through email. You will be receiving an email with your certificates inside of it, and this is going to be the same email with all of the other resources as well. So it's going to be one email with everything inside of it. And if you have made it till now, you are going to be in the list of people who will be receiving that email by Tuesday. I hope that's clear. Give me a thumbs up if that is clear, or drop in clear on the chat. Roadmap is also coming. Roadmap is also coming. I have it up in the next two slides. There are two more bonuses that I'm going to be talking about, and then I will go ahead and share the roadmap as well. In fact, I'll explain what the roadmap has to all of you, and then I will share it. Perfect. So certificates are coming, recordings are coming, your workbooks are coming to you, or in fact, they're already with you. And you're also having a bonus session tomorrow on AI automations. All of these things, the other things that I mentioned, will come to all of you by Tuesday. All right, meeting info. We are going to be sending the meeting info, over email by in the next few hours, so that you have the link with which you can attend tomorrow's session as well. Most of the times it's going to be the same link, so you might want to check that out also. Now, the next bonus that we have is, now that you're getting started on your journey, we have created a knowledge bank of multiple different prompts that you could go ahead and use. This knowledge bank today has more than 3,000 plus prompts, and all of these prompts are divided category wise. So let's say you want to, you want to do copywriting. You will find a section for that, where you will find exact prompts that you could use for copywriting. Let's say you want to go ahead and build landing pages and websites. You will find prompts for that. Let's say you want to do data analysis, you will find prompts for that. This is bonus number 4 that I'm going to go ahead and drop in on the chat. And along with that, we are also going to give you a database of resources that will help you understand how you can make money with AI as well. Now, of course, making money with AI or with whatever you're learning comes with, I mean, there is a learning curve, right? You will have to practice, continue to learn, and once you're confident, you will be able to spin off these skills into different directions that will help you make money. So these are the last two bonuses that I'm going to be dropping in on the chat at this point of time, along with the roadmap as well. So let me go ahead and pull this up. I know that whatever links I'm dropping in on the chat are slightly, here and there, because I'm not dropping all of them at once. It'll be too long a message and you will not be able to copy it. And that is the reason why I'm doing it one after the other. But all of these are going to come to you over email as well, so that you have everything at the right place in your inbox. But let me go ahead and drop in these two links as well on the chat. Perfect. There you go. All right. So you have both of these bonuses as well on the chat, the 3000 plus prompts that we are giving away, and the resource document that has multiple ideas that will help you go ahead and crack opportunities that will help you make money as well with AI. Now, let me go ahead and now share the roadmap as well, but I would like to go ahead and share my screen once and help you all understand how or what to do with this roadmap before I go ahead and share it. Give me a second. Perfect. All right. Now, for all of the people, and there are many more people who have gone ahead and asked us, whether there are still enrollments. Yeah, the Excel file might not be, you may not be able to download it, Brad, but you should be able to open it. In case you are not able to open it at this point of time, please do wait for it to come on your email. It will be sent to your email as well, Lauren, and you will be able to download it directly from there, right? Because emails are going to have the downloadable file also, right? So you can pick it up from there. Perfect. Atma, we already will be having your email address, so don't worry about it. But a lot of people, as Cameron was taking his session, continued to ask us whether there's an extension for the AI Accelerator program enrollments. I'm going to talk about that slightly after this. But if you're someone who has already enrolled into the AI Accelerator program, you may not want to go ahead and break your head into this roadmap, but this is meant for all of the others, right? Because all of the people who are continuing the journey with us, this is the exact roadmap that we have already broken down for you folks, right, into the 14-day program and through our fellowship programs as well, that I'll give clarity about. But for all of the people who are trying to learn, who will be learning everything on their own after this mastermind, one problem that we ended up identifying is that the internet today is scattered with a lot of information from multiple different creators, right? You go to YouTube, you have a lot of tutorials. You try and Google something, you have a lot of blog articles that sort of come up. And most of the content that today goes out on the internet is content that is being put up for clicks and views, right? And when you want to learn a new topic, if you are not going in a specific order, it will become very difficult for you to connect the dots much later, right? So if you go to YouTube today, you will find a ton of videos talking about how you can build AI agents, how you can, without writing code, of course. But the thing is, if you do not learn prompt engineering first, there is no way, or there is no use of anybody learning how to build AI agents as well without knowing why prompt engineering even matters, right? And that is the reason why we have always recommended people to go, when it comes to their learning journey, we have always recommended people to go in an order, right from level 1 to level 5. And in this document, what we have done with our team is that all the resource files that we kind of followed for our own growth and learning journeys, we have kind of collated all of them. So this includes research papers, it includes articles from companies like OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, etc., who have worked on these models and launched them. It includes a lot of readable documents about prompting. I mean, if you look at level one, it's going to be about prompting, about how LLM fine tuning happens, how can you reduce hallucinations, how can you go ahead and install large language models locally in your systems, and all of that, right? Level two, when you get into it, you will start learning about MCPs. You will start learning about how model context protocol really works. How can you go ahead and build your own MCPs and autonomous voice agents and everything around it. You will also be learning what kind of MCPs are possible, what are not possible, how to set up MCPs online and how to do it offline in offline environments, and all of that will be covered in level 2. Level 3 is where you will be going deeper into diffusion models. You can learn how you can build your own clone, how you can generate marketing material with AI completely, how you can use diffusion models to generate trailers and teasers and all of that, and get into content creation primarily. Level 4 and level 5 are going to be all about building automations, agentic workflows, and building products, right? So all of this is going to help you learn the length and breadth of what you can do with AI. And with this, you should also have a ton of practice, right? Because the idea here is not to just learn the theoretical things and leave it there, but the idea is to be able to translate all of that into things that all of us could do, which will help us save time for ourselves and also make additional income. So I'm going to go ahead and share this roadmap link on the chat. This is going to be very helpful for all of you. You can share it with your friends as well, Kareem. Not a problem. And everything that you see in this roadmap are just resources that we have collated from the internet itself. That's all, right? So no copyrights here, but I'm just dropping this link in. There you go. Perfect. It's on the chat at this point of time. I hope all of you can see it. Give me a thumbs up if you can. Perfect. Wonderful. And now, I think we come to the last and final part of today's session, and then we will continue with it tomorrow. The next two bonuses are for people who have reached out to us with a lot of queries regarding the next steps that they could take inside of Outskill itself. A lot of you, after WebHub session got done, reached out to our team with a lot of questions around the community that we have, and a lot of you had payment failure issues as well and had to connect with our team to get those sorted. So we thought, instead of just closing the enrollments completely for the accelerator program, we thought we would give you another opportunity to go ahead and block your seat now that a lot of you have gone ahead and gotten your queries sorted, right? So for those of you who were asking me throughout the session to share the link of the AI Accelerator program once again, I'm going to go ahead and drop it in right now. I've shared the roadmap link already, but I will put it up once again for those of you who are asking. This is the roadmap link. Perfect. Okay. All right. And for those of you who are asking for the link to block your seat in the AI Accelerator program, there you go. It's once again on the chat box, and it's going to be active only for the next 15 minutes. And then we will close it up completely. This is primarily for the people who probably had failed payments earlier or who could not block their seat because of some question that they had. But I would like to go ahead and give you a slightly deeper context about the community, because most of the questions that we received were regarding the community and the kind of people that we have inside the program itself, right? So just a quick recap about the program. It has 6 parts to it. Starts with the 14-day program. That is the most important part of the program. And I would like to clarify one other thing. We spoke about a lot of bonus tools as well. Webber mentioned this already, but You know, one thing that I would like to go ahead and clarify. Okay, I will. Okay, let me pause the chat and I will now drop in the roadmap link once again. I'm guessing I'm not sure why people are not able to see the roadmap on the chat. Can you all see it now? Give me a thumbs up if you can see it now. That is the roadmap file. Okay, perfect, perfect. And this is the link for you to go ahead and block your seat in the AI Accelerator program. Those of you who do not, who cannot join the AI Accelerator program right now, you could feel free to drop off and come back tomorrow. I'm gonna keep it short any which ways for the next 5 to 10 minutes, and then we will wrap up. But just wanted to give all of the others this opportunity to go ahead and block their seat in case they want to, and clarify one other thing, right? The program in total consists of 6 different parts. The bonus tools that we spoke about are bonuses. So it's we do not want anybody to end up purchasing the program only for the tools alone, right? That is not the intent that you should be having. In fact, there is going to be a 1v1 onboarding call right after this, with everyone who has already joined in. And if we end up realizing that anybody has joined in only and only for the tools and not with the interest of learning through the program, we would not be accepting that enrollment as well, right? I'm stating this because we got in some queries around this itself, that hey, can I just take the program for the tools and not for the learning hours and all of that, and will I still get access to the tools if I miss out on the sessions? You will certainly get access to the tools because that is a part of this flash offer that we are doing at this point of time. But I want to tell all of you that you should be taking this program only and only for the program, and the tools is something that you're getting in addition to it for you to be able to practice on your own much later, right? So do not think that the ROI is something that is coming in right away, because the value of the tools is much higher than the value of the program today, right? So this is a quick summary of the program. 6 parts to it is what you're getting, and you get our entire support for the next one entire year. And the dates that you can choose as you're blocking your seats is either the February batch or the March batch, and you know the timings already. But one thing that many of you wanted to know was how are our cohort demographics, right? Though we went ahead and showed you a video earlier. So just to give you a sense, this was the latest data that we pulled out, right? And 50% of our cohort is usually people who have 5 to 10 years of work experience. So that is a reason why we also kept mentioning that this is not a program for students, and students can completely learn on their own because there is the luxury of time. In our cohorts, we try to have people who have good years of work experience, because that is when the conversations really kick in, and that is when people get to gain value from each other as well. So as you can see, 50% of the cohort is filled with people who have about 5 to 10 years of work experience. 40% of the people have about 10 plus years of work experience. So that constitutes to 90% of the cohort who has more than 90% of the cohort with people who have more than 5 years of work experience, right? And people who are getting started with their careers or have 2 years or 3 years of experience, that's just 10% of the cohort that we go ahead and give to. And we keep this as global as possible. Every cohort, we try to have people from at least 130 to 140 different countries, primarily because the way AI is expanding across different countries, the pace at which it's expanding is very different across different countries, right? And having a global community is certainly going to open people's eyes to what is possible and what are other people doing in this space, not only in your own countries, but other countries as well. And that is how this entire program is very different from all of the other Ivy League courses that you might be finding on the internet, right? And this is how we are trying to build the world's largest AI community as well. And if you're joining in or if you have already joined in, we will be super excited to onboard you into the program as well. But as you are blocking your seats into the AI accelerator program at this point of time, lot of you also asked us about our fellowship programs and whether we do anything only on the weekends, because the accelerator needs a high level of commitment, right? It needs people to be available for 14 days at a stretch. That's more of discipline, the way I would call it. But there are inquiries about a weekend only program, and yes, we do have that as well in the form of a 6 month long program. And we call it the AI Generalist Fellowship Program. We didn't speak about this earlier, and there's a reason to it, right? Um, what we have realized, over time is that the longer the duration of the program, the lesser are going to be your chances of completing it. If the program is longer, you will think that you will end up gaining more value, but you will end up giving up in the entire process, right? And that is the reason why we came up with the accelerator program, primarily to push people to complete and make them participate in the buildathon, make them build, make them implement. That is the reason why you will not be finding a similar kind of program anywhere else on the internet. But the fellowship program still exists for those people who like to learn slow, who like to only commit time during the weekends. If that is you, you could also continue to learn at Outskill by being a part of the AI Generalist Fellowship program. But it's a 6 month long program, and the sessions only happen during the weekends. There is no other, drastic difference between both of the programs. Everything that we teach, the concepts or the implementation that happens, is essentially the same, because we go from level 1 to level 5 in both of the programs. It's just the pace at which we cover things that differs in both of these. Now, the fellowship program, we usually do not, or we have stopped letting people enroll into it directly by paying into the program, because we have realized, like I mentioned, that people end up not completing. So today, what we do to take anybody into the fellowship program is we actually get on a 1v1 interview call with people who are showing interest, and we speak to them about their interest to spend 6 entire months learning generative AI. And then, if